18 years ago, a giant tower appeared and monsters flooded in to tear everything apart. Just when it seemed like humanity was finished, some people discovered powers and became players. Now they are the last hope for everyone, and they have become legends too. In this world, there lives a regular guy who missed his chance to become a player. He swings by the guild office, shows up late as always, drops off some food, and heads out. On his way back, he notices a poster of a young player from Korea who looks powerful and impressive. He can't help but stare, feeling a mix of admiration and envy. Players can cast magic and fight off monsters. It's like they are living in a fantasy. He's so caught up in his thoughts that he doesn't even notice the traffic light has turned green. After a long day, he gets home and checks the mailbox. As usual, it is just bills and notices with no special letters. He sighs, knowing he should not have expected anything else. Once he steps inside, his sister, Yeojong, greets him with a big smile. He asks why she's still up, and she explains she's just finishing some homework. He wonders if their mom is already asleep and suggests she give her a massage. Yeojong grins and pulls out a chocolate cake, surprising him with a happy birthday wish. He asks if she spent the money for clothes, but she just chuckles, saying she has enough and will eat the cake herself if he doesn't want any since it's from a cool bakery. Despite her worn-out clothes, Kim looks too upset to notice. He pats her head and thanks her for the cake. She giggles and reminds him to check the letter before they dig in. As he looks closely, he finds a letter inviting him to the Korean Players Association. He freezes for a moment as it all registers. Yeojong hugged him tightly and said she wanted to surprise him. Filled with excitement, he glances toward his mom's room and feels a strong urge to change their lives for the better. The next day, Kim stands in front of the tall association building, trying to calm his nerves. Once inside, an employee shows him how to access his status window. His name and level 1 pop up, but his unique abilities are just question marks. He looks confused and asks why that is the case. The employee tells him those abilities have not been revealed yet. The thought makes him tremble as he wonders if he has something special inside him. Suddenly, he hears a voice calling out to him. It's Sukwu, the super famous player whose face is plastered all over posters. Sukwu offers to personally guide Kim inside, and he can hardly believe it. The employee looks unsure and mentions it's against the rules, but she eventually gives in since she can't say no. At the entrance to the tower, Sukwu leads Kim through the portal. Inside, they find a huge crowd of goblins. Kim asks if that's normal, and Sukwu explains that monsters sometimes gather up like this. Instead of being a hassle, it gives Kim a chance to learn the basics. He explains the goblin test, where a player must take down 100 goblins without skill use. Then just like that, he jumps into action, slicing through them like they are nothing. He mentions that if someone takes 4 to 5 hours, they are decent. 2 to 3 hours means they are a rank. The real powerhouses can crush it in under an hour, while those with special abilities might finish in just 10 minutes. Kim is totally amazed by what he's witnessing. Sukwu isn't just talking the talk, he's walking the walk. He moves with ridiculous speed and takes down goblin after goblin. He's wiped them all out in just 47 seconds when the dust settles. Kim is blown away when he finds out that top players usually need an hour to take down a goblin and uniques only take 10 minutes. But Sukwu managed to do it in under a minute. Seeing Kim's confusion, Sukwu explains that unique abilities allow players to learn things in months that would take regular folks years. As they wrap up, Sukwu asks if Kim's heard of the Angela Guild, famous for its young rankers. He shares his dream of building an even better guild with the best players, especially those with unique abilities. Before he leaves, he unfroze one last goblin and tells Kim it is time for his first real fight. The goblin charges at him, axe raised, while Kim stands ready to carve out his own path with his sword. Flash forward 5 years and a sword slices through the air as a goblin jumps back in fear. Kim holds his ground, breathing heavily. Not too far away, a curly-haired guy and another in armor are chatting about how the 100 Goblin Challenge is getting popular again. Kim pulls up his status window and slams his fist into the ground in frustration because despite having unique abilities, it still takes him over an hour to take down just one goblin. He got invited to Kim's association at 18, but his level has been stuck at 1 for 5 years. The scene cuts to a forest with a goblin's body sliced clean in half. Kim props the group for their effort and asks if anyone leveled up. One guy grins and says he did after just a few kills. Kim laughs, saying leveling is fast at the start and promises they'll hit the second floor tomorrow. Before he takes off, he reminds them to meet at the entrance in the morning. As Kim walks away, someone asks if he's famous. Another person brings up the rumors about his special ability. The leader looks at a glowing stone from a goblin and says if that were true, Kim wouldn't be stuck on floor 1, ranked last, and working as a guide. The brunette wonders if ranks below 2 even exist. The leader explains that Kim isn't a ranker, but the rumors just keep going. He's known as the guy who can't level up. Kim is hiding out in a spot where a few players hang out. He knows a goblin will spawn nearby, so he gets ready with his sword. He strikes first, but the goblin deflects his hit with a wooden spear. Even weak goblins can be a pain for a level 1 player. After a long struggle, Kim finally takes it down. Kim walks through the guild department at sunset, tallying up his expenses. He's left with nothing after selling the crystal and grabbing some potions. He lets out a sigh in frustration. The office door swings open, and Tio steps out looking tense. Kim asks if he's done, and Tai-Sik just nods silently. Inside, Kim asks Tai-Sik what's up. Avoiding eye contact, Tai-Sik mentions that Tai-Sik will take over Kim's squad starting tomorrow. When Kim questions it, Tai-Sik explains it's because of the rumors around the team. Before Kim can respond, someone announces that the Angel Guild just hit the 75th floor. The host talks about Angela's goal to conquer the highest floor yet. A big send-off is planned for tomorrow, and the city is excitedly buzzing. Kim notes that people idolize players as if they are something special even though they are just normal folks. Tai-Sik agrees, saying anyone can become one. Kim stays quiet as the news shifts to a breaking report about an S-rank gate in the United States. The government is looking to Korea for backup with a huge reward on the line. Kim barely reacts. The screen goes black, and Tai-Sik, looking annoyed, asks why it was turned off. He gives Kim his paycheck and compliments him on his work. He mentions that Tio seems guilty even though he acts tough. Kim reassures him that no apologies are necessary. Then Tai-Sik asks if Kim can come in early for his next shift. Later, Kim meets Sukwoo's cousin, Sun Pil, at the entrance. It catches him off guard and brings back nice memories of Sukwoo. The guide introduces the crew, and Jae-won, Seung-woo, and Hanul greet him warmly. Kim informs everyone that they've got 5 days to clear the training floor and points to the forest path where they'll learn the basics. By the time sunset rolls around, training wraps up, and the team takes a breather. Kim whips up some meat soup while the others set up camp. Jae-won asks if Kim's level will ever change. Sunpil tries to shut him down, but Kim says they can ask anything. They chat about how easy the fight felt. Kim points out that first-floor goblins are pretty weak and easy to find. The training floor is just a warm-up for the real battles, and if they stay sharp, they'll be fine. He reminds them about the tougher monsters that guard each floor. Those guys can be a real challenge even for guilds, but they drop cool rewards. Hanul and Sunpil look nervous, but Kim assures them that guardian fights are rare and can be handled with the right plan. As night sets in on the 4th floor, a green orc is seen running wildly among the dead trees. It trips over a stone and crashes down. Another orc comes along and brutally takes it out. This guardian orc then starts munching on its body. On the second training day, the squad battles some big but slow monsters on the 2nd floor, which makes things a bit easier. By the 3rd day, things get hectic with goblins and orcs everywhere. They can't really team up, and chaos ensues when someone whips a rock at an orc. As it turns out, this was all part of Kim's plan. The squad hangs back and watches the mayhem unfold, leveling up without too much risk. Sunpil is starting to see why Sukwoo trusts Kim so much. Later that night, Sunpil catches sight of Hanul writing in her diary. She's thinking about what class she might end up with, and Sunpil tries to answer her while brushing his teeth, which cracks everyone up. They settle in for the night, knowing they only have one more day before they hit the 5th floor. Meanwhile, our hero can't help but think about the challenges waiting for them there. On the 4th floor, they face orcs and goblins that are tougher and faster than the last bunch. Someone suggests they use the same trap as before. They charge forward, attacking and pushing the orcs back. Our hero watches the team closely when a sudden gust of dust begins to blow. He signals everyone to fall back as he suspects a guardian orc is nearby. He grabs his bag and starts running, but JWAN falls and gets hurt while an orc looms over him. Sunpil jumps in and takes out the orc, but the goblin sees the moment and injures Hanul. Kim knows that real training is serious business and one careless moment can really put the team in danger. Just then, a massive guardian figure appears through the dust and the orcs rush into the fray. Kim tells everyone to escape and throws a smoke bomb to cover their retreat. They barely make it out with Kim leading the way and yelling at them to keep moving. Finally, they find a hidden cave and take a breather. Sunpil asks about that monster and our hero explains that it's the 4th floor guardian and they have no idea why it showed up out of the blue. Sunpil is freaking out because Hanul won't wake up. The goblin's poison spear has made a nasty wound. Kim starts rummaging through his bag for the antidote, but it's nowhere to be found. It must have dropped out while they were making their escape. He's really bummed about it, but there's no time to dwell on mistakes. The squad's looking at him, waiting for him to devise a plan. Kim gets up and says he's heading outside to find help and will be back soon. They warn him about the risks, but Kim is like Jason Bourne on the tutorial floor, so off he goes to shoot a flare. He ducks behind some rocks as an orc strolls by. The guardian messes with the usual monster patterns, making figuring out how many are around tough. With just one smoke shell left, he can't screw this up. He decides to take a different route, planning to reach the hill in about 3 minutes to signal for help. But before he can move, a massive orc appears and strikes, slamming him into the ground. Blood runs from his mouth as his smoke bomb rolls away, releasing a thick cloud. Kim clenches his jaw, pushes himself up, grabs the signal pistol, and shoots it into the air. Kim makes a break for it, using the smoke to help him push through the pain. He knows this place like the back of his hand. While he's running, he spots the entrance to the 5th floor test. He pauses for a moment. Normally, he'd jump in without thinking, but his family is on his mind. At his level, entering is basically a death sentence. Even level 4s keep their distance from this gate. With the Guardian close behind, he has little choice. He can either stay and get caught or press on into the unknown. He takes a deep breath, clenches his fists, and moves forward. The doors swing open and light floods over him. A voice booms as the background check begins and the conditions are met. Kim wakes up on a vast green field. A system voice announces that the difficulty level has been reduced and a test of the goat hunt appears. Without much effort, he strikes the goat down. More notifications confirm he passed the test and gained his unidentified ability. Kim is surprised as he was supposed to die here, but the test just ended. Before he can react, black energy surges and freezes him. A voice demands his name, but our boy is shocked by the pitch-black void. The voice curses its luck for getting a noob like Kim. It urges him to choose a name and form a connection with it. The system confirms that he must answer the request from an ego by naming it. Kim's eyes snapped open to see his sister and Tae-sik standing by his bed, surprised he was awake. Tae-sik explains he was found unconscious on the 5th floor 2 weeks ago. Guild players saw his signal flare and arrived to find the Guardian fleeing. Kim feels relieved knowing Sunpil and the squad are safe. Later, by the window, he calls his mom and reassures her the insurance covers everything. He promises to call once the doctors confirm his discharge. But deep down, he knows something's changed after passing the 5th floor, yet he's still level 1. A ring appears on his finger, and now our guy is outside the Korean Association building. Whispers spread as Kim returns through the portal. While new players train on the 1st floor, all eyes follow him as he walks the forest path. A player asks why Kim is so well known. His friend says it's because the guide can't level up, but a gloved man says that's no longer the reason. There's something else now. The portal swings open and a horde of giant orcs emerges. Kim, known as the killer of the tutorial, stands fearless while goblins rush forward with weapons raised. The ring on his finger flares to life and a demonic sword appears in his grip. It glows with a crimson light as he takes his stance. The monsters hesitate as they sense danger. Kim lunges forward and cuts them down in an instant. His sword leaves streaks of bright energy behind. He jumps high and unleashes a final blow that scatters their bodies. As he fights, he remembers Ego asking for a name. With a smirk, he decides to call it Lu. The status window flickers and Ego reacts with satisfaction. Kim's unique ability lets him form a bond with Ego. His level stays the same, but Lu increases exponentially with every kill. Kim stares at the bag of purple stones, remembering how scared he was of just 2 orcs. Now collecting crystals from them feels like a real challenge. He relaxed in a green forest a month ago, casually checking his status window. Now it shows a rare ability to connect with egos. He's glad he rushed to the tower after leaving the hospital even if his sister would be furious. His info window is finally changing for the first time in 5 years and he can't afford to sit still. At that moment, he's totally clueless about how to connect with Ego. He starts yelling some sort of spell while flailing his hands around, but nothing happens. Kim feels frustrated and sits down while realizing how ridiculous he must look. Just as he's getting embarrassed about even mentioning Lu, a red flash pops up and a floating sphere appears. Igo's voice chimes in saying Lu is summoned but doesn't have a form yet. Since Kim doesn't know what he's doing, Lu's look is up for grabs. The sphere starts sucking in nearby stuff, pulling in dark and light energy. Then out of nowhere, it starts sucking up everything around it, including Kim's bag of crystals and his clothes. He barely holds onto his underwear as the wind whips around him. The energy fades and a black demonic sword floats in the air. Kim stares in disbelief, wondering if this is really Lu. The sword opens its red eye, calls him an idiot, and scolds him for asking the same question again. Kim picks up the sword and asks what an ego actually is. He guesses it might be like a soul, but Lu quickly tells him he is way off. Now resting in Kim's hands, Lu grumbles about being treated too casually. Kim asks if it can move by itself, but Lu says no. He then asks if an ego can change owners and Lu explains it only happens if the owner agrees. Before Kim can ask anything else, Lu warns that if the owner dies, the ego dies too, so betrayal is pointless. Intrigued, Kim asks if Lu can feel pain, and, again, the answer is no. Without thinking twice, he picks up a stone. A notification offers to turn on the pain sensation, so he decides to go for it and give ego a real taste of life. After the latest battle with an orc, Lu gained some experience, leveled up, and boosted its stats with every enemy taken down. Once the fight was over, Kim noticed that Lu had been around for a while and got curious. He asked if Lu missed the good old days. Lu admitted that thinking back on those times cranked up its killing intent, which it found embarrassing. This caught Kim off guard, but Lu quickly complimented Kim's vibe and switched topics. With a backpack full of crystals, they finished their hunt. Kim suggests exploring beyond the gate next time, but Tai-Sik warns him not to. For American rankers recently died after mistaking a C-rank gate for an F-rank one. Strange gates started appearing for the first time in 23 years right around when Kim met Lu. He brushes it off and takes a sip of his drink. Tai-Sik warns him again, but Kim just stays quiet. Before leaving, Kim thanks him, and Tai-Sik jokes by calling him a tutorial killer. Kim tells him to drop it. When the elevator opens, Kim checks his phone. Even with the warning, he can't back down since he's barely covering his loan interest. Scrolling through Gate Hunter job listings, he clicks one and makes a call, convinced nothing bad will happen. Later, at a coffee shop, Kim runs into his squad leader, Song-soo. After a quick intro, Song-soo asks if it's Kim's first time going for a gate hunt. Kim nods and Song-soo hands him a contract that lays out how they'll split the loot and any penalties. They decide on equipment through a lottery system. Once Kim finishes reading it, Song-soo tells him to meet at Guri Station in 2 days, stressing that being late isn't an option. When the day finally comes, a bunch of hunters gather in front of the gate. These ongoing gates offer less loot but are safer, so they are popular with hunters. The crew makes their way through the dungeon. Kim spots 2 new swordsmen leading the way with a guy and a girl trailing behind, trying to figure out how to team up since they all met online looking for gigs. Out of nowhere, Song-soo holds up a hand for everyone to freeze. There's a sound echoing from deeper in the dungeon. He pulls out his bow and warns that monsters are on the way. Just like that, a horde of walking dead comes charging at them. Song-soo yells for the tank, who raises his shield just as a monster slams into him. The swordsmen charge ahead while Song-soo shoots an arrow, hitting a zombie in the forehead. Even with their hits, the undead are tough to take down. In a flash, Kim jumps in and starts slicing through the zombies with a crazy speed. Within moments, all the zombies are on the ground with blood everywhere. The squad just stands there, stunned by what they've seen. Before Song-soo can let another arrow fly, the fight is already over. The group rests by the dungeon wall. The tank says Kim is helping them clear the dungeon way faster, and a swordsman points out that Kim's moves don't match a typical level 7 player. Kim just shrugs and says he's lucky. They laugh, recalling how easily he handled the monsters, and one jokes about joining his crew. Song-soo, focused on his arrows, ignores the chatter. The others admit they owe Kim their lives, but Song-soo quickly reminds them it's time to move. Kim checks on Lu, who complains about the awful taste of zombie blood. Brushing it off, Kim says the boss room is sealed. The group notices him whispering and exchanging glances. In the boss room, they find huge steel bars blocking the path, likely meant to trap the monster. Song-soo begins explaining the plan, but the tank cuts him off, saying they already know the basics. Song-soo scowls and warns the team that even a mistake could ruin everything. The blonde swordsman grumbles in frustration, and the sorceress grits her teeth but stays silent under Song-soo's sharp stare. They melt the bars with a special solution and quietly slip into the boss room. Song-soo climbs to a higher ledge and fires an explosive arrow that blasts lightning straight into the huge monster. The boss, furious and eyes blazing, swings his fists wildly. Byung raises his shield but is sent flying when Tai-sik smashes through it. The swordsmen charge in and land a few blows, cutting the boss's tough skin. Suddenly, the boss changes tactics. He hunches over and covers his head, causing his defense to skyrocket and making further attacks useless. The squad leader signals Kim, knowing his strength is their best shot. Kim leaps high with his sword raised. As he soars, a voice echoes in his mind, telling him that his fusion with Liu has grown stronger. With a fierce swing, Kim unleashes red lightning that crackles across the air. The swordsmen in the tank look amazed. A notification appears saying the Guardian of the Talon Gate has been defeated, and they have earned experience points for it. The girl and Song-soo watch in shock. Our hero stands still as he struggles to believe what he is seeing. Another notification shows up saying he has unlocked a new skill called cannibalism, which allows him to regain strength by eating corpses. Boss's body is sprawled out in the middle of the room, and the squad is taking a moment to admire the scene. Byung and the swordsman grab Kim by the shoulders and start asking for his phone number. Song-soo grabs everyone's attention and shows off a paralyzing dagger they looted. As agreed, he reminded the group that they needed to draw lots to split the loot. The tank claps Kim on the shoulder and jokes about whether he wants the dagger. Kim frowned and said that the one who did the work should keep it and that he and Dayo would back him up. The others laugh, teasing Kim for still pretending not to notice them. After 5 years as a guide, Kim can usually read people well, but their behavior feels off. Across the room, Song-soo and a girl sit calmly, clearly hiding something. The squad leader pulls out some bones from his pocket, ready to sort out the loot. The swordsman and tank exchange glances, and suddenly the tank jumps up and swings his blade right at Songsu's heart. Before the blade even gets close, Songsu grabs the attacker's arm in midair and flips him over his back. The tank crashes to the ground and grits his teeth. He looks up and asks if this is all some setup. Kim doesn't answer. He already knows. One wrong move and he is ready to kill. Dio freezes when told to act. He stands there shaking, scared of what Kim might do. The tank tries to explain that it was meant to be a joke, but Kim knows he nearly got Song killed. Kim observes the girl with the burning eyes gripping a dagger in her hand. She did not cast any spell. Kim did not even see her draw the weapon. If she is not a mage, then she is something else. Kim remembers how Songsu did not even flinch when the knife was pointed at him. He only looked at the blade. Kim narrows his eyes and asks them who they really are. Songsu just smiles and says he was about to ask the same thing. Our boy asks what they are planning to do with him. Dio's freaking out, saying he didn't know Byung was going to hurt Songsu and just went along for a reward. Kim says that since Songsu was the target, he had to make a call. The squad leader turns to the girl, calling her harem, and she jumps back like she's in a dark fog. Kim's jaw drops when the sorceress suddenly appears next to Dio. Just like that, the swordsman is gone after her one blow. Kim can't help but think this girl is seriously dangerous. Kim pulls the same move on Byung, making him vanish too. He grabs the dagger off the floor and claims it. When Songsu questions him, Kim says he deserves it for saving their lives. Songsu argues, but Kim shrugs, pointing out that the dagger means nothing to them. Songsu, shaking with anger, asks if Kim knows who he is. Kim glances at the girl, guesses he must be important, but says he doesn't care. He adds that he's skipping over Dio and Byung after bigger prey. Liu's red eye flashes, warning Kim that harem is dangerous. Kim already knows and asks if he should just run. Liu says to focus on other monsters and keep the loot. A notification pops up showing Liu absorbing zombie stamina. Kim, excited to hunt more, asks how it feels. Liu grumbles that zombie blood tastes awful. Kim transforms the sword into a ring and leaves the dungeon since no zombies are left. Meanwhile, Liu boosts his dexterity, strength, and stamina from the monsters. He thinks about heading into the rewards room. The gatekeeper's corpse is sprawled on the floor. They need it to get to the reward. As is about to touch the body, he gets distracted by a glow on the wall. He asks if that light was there before. When he knocks on the stone where the glow's coming from, he realizes it's hollow. He grabs his sword and suggests smashing the wall, and Ego is on board with that. He swings his sword, but Liu tries to stop him just as he does. It's too late, though, and the wall comes crashing down, sending up a cloud of dust. Kim waves his hand through it and asks what Liu senses. Liu replies that it feels like there's another Ego around. Kim's eyes widen in surprise. He wonders what Ego's been doing for 5 years if he keeps appearing in dungeons. Liu almost calls his master an idiot but holds back, suggesting they search for Ego. Kim doubts an old gate like this hides anything, but Liu disagrees. In the middle of the room, a white Excalibur sword is stuck in a stone. Kim wonders if he should just grab it. The moment his hands touch the hilt, a bright flash lights up the room. He hears Ego's voice asking if its owner is finally there, and suddenly, he finds himself in a white space with familiar vibes. He looks around and asks if the voice comes from the sword's Ego. The voice says it's been waiting for its owner and wants a response. Floating in the light haze, Kim tells it is not its master but would like to be. The voice asks for a name, and Kim eagerly declares he'll call it El. Suddenly, a white sword appears in his hands, and while he checks it out, the ceiling of the secret room starts to break. A notification says the demon tied to El has woken up. Stones come crashing down with a roar, and Egos tells Kim he must get out of there quickly. The Egos notice each other and start bickering about wanting to introduce themselves. Kim rushes out, telling them to quiet down. He spots Talon's body and heads to the reward room, but the floor beneath him starts to give way. Kim touches his dead boss and suddenly, the system asks if he wants to enter the reward room. Out of nowhere, a wave of energy surrounds him in this light haze. Just as a huge orange eye appears near the gate, he teleports away just in time. The gate disappears and he scores a bonus reward since he took it down. A crowd gathers where the dungeon entrance is and a news anchor reports on the strange gate and growing rumors. Kim figures the gate vanished right after he left, which could make him look suspicious. He gets 30 purple crystals and a blue guardian amulet for his reward. The amulet boosts energy and wards off minor illnesses, but won't cure his mom. Still, selling the crystals should cover her treatment. Kim decides to climb the tower again. With no monsters on the test floor, a city now stands on the 5th. Surrounded by crowds, he can't help but admire it. He once cleared the 5th floor and was found unconscious on the 6th. He takes down the blue dragons like a pro. The goblins on the 7th floor go down with just a few swings of his sword, and he zaps the dragon mob on the 8th floor with lightning. He's standing on the 9th floor surrounded by sharp rocks with 2 shining swords. Not too long ago, he would have never dreamed of having this kind of power. He even pictures Sukwoo, reminding him that level isn't everything and that his unique abilities will unlock if he just hangs in there. Kim smiles as the rings on his hand glow, pleased his L level has risen despite the split experience. He notes the fusion boosted his strength. Glancing at L, he wonders if it's tied to the demon sealed inside, but L apologizes, unable to remember. Maybe that giant eye really was a demon. Figuring the stronger his ego gets, the stronger he'll be. Kim checks Lu's info window and decides it's time to hunt more ego. When Lu asks where, Kim grins and says he knows just the place. The scene shifts to an auction building where people bid on an antique vase, which sells for a whopping 170 million won. In the crowd, Kim wonders if egos feels anything. The rings say they do not, which makes sense because ego is rare. The auction host then reveals the final item, the bracelet of wounds, which speeds up recovery. Surprisingly, the rings say it is an ego. Later, as he walks down the street and squints in dissatisfaction, Kim thinks the auction is tiring and overpriced. Lu points out that the bracelet is the main attraction, while teases him for being broke. Even so, Kim grins because his paralyzing dagger sold for almost 100 million won. After leaving the store, he talks to Tae-sik on the phone and mentions that finding a team is harder than fighting monsters. Tae-sik warns him to be careful near the gates. While waiting at a crosswalk, Kim reflects that being stuck at level 1 without gear means he cannot rank up or devise his own strategies. There is not much he can do, so he jokes with Tae-sik about logging in to celebrate his promotion. Kim looks down and figures he does not mind climbing the tower, although progress is slow because Lu needs to keep feeding on blood. He holds up a package and says he scored some beef. Lu teases him for being stingy even after getting a nice chunk of cash. But when Kim points out how he talks, Lu quickly apologizes. Kim shares that he has always wanted to make enough money so Yo-jong can feel safer. As he heads up the stairs, something shiny catches his eye. A flash of energy buzzes through the air, and Kim wonders if it might be another gate. Kim knows that if the witnesses of the gate let the association know where it is, things can get messy. The first person to prove the gate's location gets dibs on attacking it and selling the rights. Tae-sik is watching the gate closely, wondering if it's close to Kim's place. But when he checks on Kim, he suddenly chokes and spills coffee all over himself. Now Kim is geared up to enter the gate and grab those rights, and is reminded to take the necessary precautions. Tae-sik compliments him on his progress and says he wants to chat. At a cafe, Tae-sik asks if Kim feels confident in his skills. Kim admits he's way stronger than he thought and mentions he's on the 11th floor, which Tae-sik already knows about. Tae-sik drops a bombshell, telling Kim he has 4 days to get ready before they meet up. And if he's not prepared, he won't be allowed to go anywhere. 4 days later, in the headquarters basement, Kim looks around at the weapons and protective gear on the walls. Realizing he might have underestimated the association, Tae-sik asks if Kim is interested in joining as a member or prefers the non-employee route, but Kim says no to both. He's not ready to commit yet. Remembering Tae-sik's face, he comments that once Tae-sik becomes chief, the guide department will be gone. Tae-sik responds that Tae-o has joined the caravan guild and seems to have changed a lot. As he rolls up his sleeves, Kim asks if he has brought a weapon for training. Tae-sik laughs, saying Kim must think he's just an office worker if he believes that. He winks and makes a fist. Suddenly, Kim's eyes widened with shock, and he raised his hands to protect himself as sweat beads poured up on his forehead. Tae-sik, looking confident, says he's still got it, so Kim shouldn't underestimate a top ranker. He raises his hands, a dark aura surrounding him, and tells Kim to come at him. Kim yanks his hand out of his pocket knowing he can't take down the boss, but he is not about to just stand around. His amber eyes widen as boss's foot comes right at his head in no time. Then boom. An explosion goes off right in front of him. He grits his teeth and slides his foot on the floor. Tae-sik drops to one knee while Kim jumps back, sword in hand. Tae-sik gives him this skeptical look and asks if he's really ready. Kim thinks about how top rankers are on a whole different level. Tae-sik frowns and tells him to get serious because losing focus behind the gate means the game is over. Kim frowns and admits he's been a bit too cocky. He grits his teeth, reminding himself he's not totally unprepared. Flashback 4 days earlier at the game items market in Dongdaemun, Kim's got his phone to his ear, pretending to chat while telling Lu that his gear is way too weak. He glances to the side and says there's no way he can roll around with stuff like that, suggesting they check for ego instead. Elle chimes in that she'll let him know if it shows up. As Kim strolls past a combat gear shop, he notices some metal armor and checks it out. It's just an average piece with a defense rating of 9. Behind the glass, mannequins are decked out in military-style outfits. He glances at the price tag and winces in shock. Suddenly, a bright green screen shows the details of some leather armor, and the price is a staggering $130,000,000,000.0.01. He plops down on a bench grumbling that the cheap stuff is too weak while the good stuff is too pricey. In the background, a kid shouts angrily that his grandpa is a great master. Someone else in the crowd asks what's so special about gear that doesn't even have item info. The boy huffs and walks off, insisting his grandpa is super skilled. A guy responds saying a shop without real trade isn't worth anything. Kim steps up to the kid, calling out and asking him to take him to his grandpa's store. The kid grins and agrees. They walk down the stairs, which leads to a dark spot. Kim's feeling unsure, but Lou and Elle are all cool with it, saying everything the kid's wearing has some ego in it. This kid has some ego power even if it's all artificial. Grinning, he swings the door open and tells his grandpa he has a visitor. As Kim walks in, Minitsa proudly brags about how great his grandpa is. Out of nowhere, Kim's eyes go wide. He enters the room with all the equipment and realizes it's all just ego in there. Lou and Elle can't believe that regular humans are making them, but then they realize that egos is missing a sense of self, making them feel incomplete. Kim is standing there, staring at the green screens, when a gray-haired guy walks up and tells him to scram because he won't get what they are worth. Wong, an old man who's fed up with people who just don't get it, is taken aback when Kim says he actually wants to buy his stuff. Wong explains he doesn't sell because most folks don't know how to use the equipment. Kim asks if he'd sell it if he could actually use it. Wong tells Kim to check out the place and then leave, but Kim starts naming off the features of the weapons just by looking at them. Wong looks stunned as Lovely asks to see what the sword can do. Kim calmly agrees. Wong then hands him another weapon and asks if his biggest wish is to give it to someone who will truly appreciate it. Kim confidently names the weapon sharpness. Wong is shocked and even Minitsa freezes wide-eyed. Kim places the weapon back on the stand while Elle jokes that Wong clearly dislikes the name. The blue-tiled room is packed with weapons. Later, during training, Kim and Taisik face off. Kim charges so fast that he leaves two bright streaks behind him. Taisik stays calm, easily deflecting the attack, and shouts that Kim's sword wavers and that he needs to strike with real force at the vital points. Realizing he's up against a former top-ranked, Kim sharpens his focus. He swings again, but Taisik dodges effortlessly. Kim tries again for another hit, but Taisik sidesteps like it's nothing. Then out of nowhere, Taisik suddenly comes behind him. As Taisik goes to attack, Kim swings his sword, creating a red arc in the air. He quickly crouches to dodge another strike. Moving around, Taisik Kim presses on attacking non-stop. He slams both swords into the ground, forcing Taisik to jump back. Their fight keeps going, and neither takes a break as they dash across the training field. Suddenly, Kim frowns and looks away. Taisik clenches his fist and steps toward him. Then the scene shifts out of nowhere, and Kim finds himself in the blacksmith's room, still confused about why he can't connect with a new ego. Lou points out third-rate items are weirdly picky about who can use them. Kim takes one last shot, touches the equipment, and names it Brunhard. A bright flash goes off as the system confirms he's made a connection with the ego. Kim grins, but the system warns him that he can't communicate with it yet, so he won't have full access to Brunhard's powers. Most abilities are gone, but with decent stats, the ego can soak up all the damage Kim takes. Just then, Taisik is about to nail Kim with a solid punch, and our hero gets knocked back, crashing into the wall. He coughs up blood and pain as he hits the ground. Taisik rolls an orange bottle toward him, telling him to drink the potion for his internal injuries. Kim wonders why something so pricey is stuck in such a cheap bottle. Taisik chimes in, saying he doesn't think our hero can even manage a scratch, so he's not worried about the test. But then Taisik realizes this isn't just a fluke. It's all part of Kim's plan, and he feels he has totally underestimated him. Kim just thanked him for the gear. A bright portal appears, and Taisik warns they must clear it before agents arrive in a week. Kim now has 5 days, or Taisik will drag him out since it is cheaper than hiring the association staff. As they approach the gate, Taisik reminds him not to let his guard down even against an F rank. Kim smiles, realizing Taisik worries about him like a dad. Kim steps through the glowing gate, hoping this one stays open. Lou asks why he needs a permanent gate, and Kim says he must clear it first to find out. If it is not some tricky tower or dungeon, he could make good money from it. A wolf leaps at him, but Kim cuts it down with one clean strike. More wolves emerge from the shadows with glowing red eyes. Kim smiles, ready to tear through them and level up. As the blue wolf charges in, the system tells Lou to absorb its blood, which will help raise his level along with Elle. When the wolf jumps at Kim and sinks its teeth, he just grins. Brunhard takes the hit and sends the damage back, which causes a small blast near the wolf's mouth and takes it out on the spot. After the fight, Kim drops to the ground to catch his breath and notices that 5 hours have passed. He looks around and thinks the enemies here are a lot like orcs, probably because they are F rank, which makes this place tough to reach solo. But this time, luck is on his side. He also mentions that he needs a higher level and finally gets it, which means your level can be checked without gear. If the ego is close enough, it keeps him stuck at level 1, which blocks him from getting a real rating. Kim is starting to wonder if Taisik is even useful. Elle says that once she levels up her skills, they might be able to talk no matter where they are. Kim likes the idea, but does not know how to improve his abilities. Lu suddenly brings up Ego Leech. Still unsure, Kim checks Lu's status screen and spots a skill called cannibalism. He raises an eyebrow and jokes if that means eating each other. Lu stares at him like he's lost it, but Kim smirks and laughs. Wanting to move on, Kim digs into a bag filled with purple crystals and starts thinking about getting a backpack that can hold more space expansion magic. He sees a few colorful bottles and notices one that boosts strength. Figuring it might help make space, he drinks it and mutters that he just needs a little boost. Out of nowhere, Lu says he feels the strongest aura yet and thinks a boss monster could be nearby. Kim nods and says buffs are exactly what they need. As they walk through the dark cave, he asks how long they've been there because he's already worried the potion might wear off. Elle senses something nearby, so Kim turns to look. Lu says they are almost there. When Kim sees the light ahead, he agrees that Elle was right, but Lu quickly says he was the one who said it first. Kim puts a finger to his lips and tells him to stay quiet. The spirit says no one else can hear them anyway. Elle then tells Lu not to be rude to his owner. After leaving the dungeon, Kim feels the boss has already drained half the gate's power. A tall rock stands ahead, and he realizes this boss isn't like Talon, the one players usually fight. He sees a grey wolf on the ground and wonders if this aura belongs to a monster no one has ever touched. All of a sudden, the wolf opens its red eyes. It rises and grins, and Kim realizes this is the guardian of the gate. Elle and Lu tell him to be careful. Kim can already feel how strong this one is, and it's definitely tougher than Talon. The wolf jumps at Kim and he crosses his swords. It opens its mouth and takes the bite while Kim raises his weapon to block. He steps back, gritting his teeth and holding tight to the white sword. He swings repeatedly and his blade hits the wolf, but the cut is too shallow. Kim stiffens as the wolf growls and its eyes light up. It bends down and shakes the sword off its body. Then it throws Kim into the air. He manages to land and digs his swords to steady himself. He realizes the wolf hits harder than it looks, so he takes the hits and stores the damage. The wolf snarls and shows its teeth. Kim remembers his long fights with tough enemies. He drops his backpack and jumps high just as the wolf leaps too, so he has to dodge midair. The wolf keeps coming and attacks again. Kim blocks the bite. Then he drives the black sword into the wolf's eye and barely pulls it off. The wolf goes wild in pain. Kim keeps hitting until the wolf cries loudly and falls for good. The wolf finally goes still and Kim drops beside it while trying to catch his breath. The boost from the potion had worn off, and without Brunhard, he knows he wouldn't have made it. Thinking back, he realizes Talon was nothing compared to this. Lu walks up and finishes the job. He thanks the wolf for letting him land the final hit. The system confirms the kill and rewards the experience. His black sword absorbs the wolf's blood and begins to glow. A new message appears saying he gained an agility boost along with a skill called cannibalism that helps restore stamina when he's badly hurt. Kim looks at the messages, completely stunned. As Liu starts using most of the dead monster's body, some drops of blood land on Kim. He grips his sword and watches as the wolf's body slowly rips apart. Then the system finally speaks, saying Liu has absorbed the wolf named Changjun and turned it into an ego. Kim sits on the ground, holding the crystal in his hands, wondering what happened. Liu admits he has never heard of a monster becoming an ego. Kim asks Elle, but Elle has no answer. Kim lifts his hand to his face and stares off to the side deep in thought. He glances at the black sword and asks Liu if he holds the wolf's ego. Liu says no. Kim turns away still trying to figure it out and opens his status window to check his info. Kim notices that one of the egos he picked up has the wolf's name. His eyes widened and for a second he thought he should yell out the skill name just like last time when he screamed so loud it shook the place. But this time, he decides to save it for later. He gets to his feet and says he tested out how useful the cannibalism skill is and is pretty happy with it. On top of that, he also picked up a blue crystal, which was even better than the purple one. Feeling good, he starts walking toward the reward room. But then out of nowhere, he stops and starts looking around in a panic. The egos are confused and have no idea what's going on. Kim suddenly remembers the enemy he had beheaded earlier and says to get into the reward room, he has to touch the body of the gatekeeper. He yells out that the wolf's body was eaten by Liu, and Liu just stands there feeling all guilty, like being a black sword makes it some kind of universal crime. The sun never sets inside the gate, so Kim decides to search on the second day. Liu thinks it's a waste of time, and Elle suggests they should leave and get help. But Kim isn't on board with that because he knows people will start to suspect him if weird stuff happens again, like back in Guri City. He figures that the gate will probably break if he leaves, which could cause much trouble for everyone. So he feels he has to figure this out himself no matter what. Our hero grins when El praises his sense of responsibility, but Lu thinks his master is covering his own tracks. Kim snaps at Lu to be quiet and mentions that Tai-sik will show up in 4 days so they can dodge the worst of it, but it's best to make a decision before Tai-sik gets here. Now it's the 3rd day, and Kim is searching everywhere but coming up empty. He ends up eating the candy and asks if it's really worth taking out all the other monsters, and the spirits chime in that they are on board with that choice. Our hero cuts through the wolves, takes care of the caves they skipped, and finishes off the last enemies. On the 5th day, Kim lands a solid hit on a wolf and claims it's the final. Our hero wonders what's next since Tai-sik will be showing up soon. Kim looks around thinking he might blow up the cave. Suddenly, the spirits call out in unison, and his eyes widen as a bright golden light bursts forth. Lu and El excitedly report that all the energy from the gate is starting to gather in one spot. Kim frowns and shouts asking where they are. The spirits respond that it's the spot where the gatekeeper hangs out. Back at the guild office, Tai-sik says he would have gone in if Kim had shown up a bit later. He asks why it took so long for Kim to come out when he could clear it in a few days. While he's in the shower, Kim mentions that he took down the gatekeeper on the 1st day, but the wolf's body disappeared, so he couldn't get to the reward room. When Tai-sik asks why Kim took so long, Kim says he had to take care of the remaining monsters. Tai-sik recalls Kim with a bag full of crystals and gets why so many are around. Our hero mentions that once he catches the last wolf, all the energy from the gate starts to gather in the boss room. He also remembers Lu telling him to run faster. Kim yells back that he's already at his limit, but as he steps outside, a bright golden light bursts forth so intense that everything goes completely blank. His eyes widened in shock as he felt like pieces of the world were all gathering in one spot. Kim stared at the golden glowing fragments that floated into his hand. The system chimed in, saying he was receiving ego fragments, and asked if he wanted to head to the reward room. Meanwhile, back in the shower, Tai-sik was trying to wrap his head around it all. He was totally taken aback when Kim threw out the idea that the gate was actually egos. Tai-sik tells Kim he's getting about 50 million for the crystals in the gate, and Kim's pretty thankful for it. Once outside, Tai-sik asks if Kim's heading to the hospital. Kim says he's actually going to visit her family instead. Tai-sik offers him a lift. Kim thinks about it for a second, but ends up saying yes. He glances away awkwardly while Tai-sik happily drives his bright pink car. At the hospital, Yo-Young's mom is just glad Kim isn't hurt. After a quick chat, Kim heads out to grab a soda for his sister, leaving Tai-sik with her mom. She thanks him for looking out for Kim, but Tai-sik insists it's usually the other way around. Meanwhile, Kim mentions that exams are coming up and tells Yo-Jung not to overdo it. She jokes that he should get her a guardian amulet and tells her to cut it out. A grandma walks by and asks if he's Yo-Young's older brother. Then she suddenly looks away and squeezes Kim's hand, saying he has good energy. He just says thanks. As Grandma is about to leave, she suddenly turns back to talk to Kim. He gives her a puzzled look, and she tells him that a lot of energies are colliding inside him, so he needs to be careful not to lose himself. Before heading out, she wishes him luck dealing with whatever comes his way. Kim glances at his hand, curious if she knows about the rings. The next day, after finally catching up on some much-needed sleep and stretching his sore muscles, a doctor asks if he's Lee Se-jin's guardian. Kim nods and asks if there's something wrong. The doctor then says they need to talk privately. The scene shifts to the guild office where several players have gathered near the gate chatting away. One guy asks his friend if he's in the mood for some soju. As they are talking, they spot the tutorial slayer Kim. A blonde dude mentions he's a huge fan and wants to say hi. But when he looks at Kim, his smile totally drops. Kim looks stressed out, completely zoned out. He's stuck on the doctor's words replaying in his mind. His mom is in pretty bad shape, and her muscles are seriously damaged. They've tried everything, but it's just too late now. Kim steps through the gate without saying a word. A group of massive bull-like monsters waits for him, but his mind is somewhere else. He keeps thinking about what the doctor said. They don't know what is making her sick. All they could do was say sorry. She has anywhere from 3 months to a year left. Anger and guilt push Kim forward. He blames himself. He thinks it is all because of him if he had not hesitated. If he had not stayed in the background, if only he had been braver earlier. Kim rushes toward the monsters. His speed is unreal. Only a faint glow trails behind him. The monsters do not even get a chance to react before he smashes through them with unstoppable force. He stands on a wet hill in the rain, ready to take down anything in his path. Lu questions if he's lost it, asking if he's trying to end his own life and reminding him to keep it together. El chimes in, saying their master's mom is really sick, and it's obvious he's struggling with that. Meanwhile, on the 90th floor of the tower, in the middle of a crowd, Kim catches everyone's eye as he strolls by with a bunch of backpacks strapped to his back. People start to murmur, speculating whether he's hauling crystals or if he's been collecting them for years. They can't believe he's been on a hunt here for just 2 weeks straight. One guy from the red player group in the Smurf Guild walks up to Kim and eyes his bags. He flashes a sly grin and asks if they're heavy, but it's obvious he's just trying to get his hands on the gemstones inside. Kim doesn't even bother with a reply. He pulls out his sword and holds it up to the guy's neck. The guy freezes but tries to play it cool, saying Kim doesn't know who he's messing with. Kim stares him down with bloodshot eyes and tells him to shut up and fuck off. Then he warns him not to ever touch someone else's stuff again. The guy's legs start to shake under the weight of Kim's killing intent. A guild member walks over and asks what's going on. The Smurf Guild instantly backs off, and the bully shouts Kim's name as he runs off, throwing out empty threats he clearly doesn't have the guts to follow through on. Kim turns to the guy who just showed up, and the guy introduces himself as Sung-hoon from the Korean Players Association. He says he works security on the 19th floor and asks Kim what happened. Kim just says those guys were eyeing his stuff. Sung-hoon nods and says that's nothing new, especially with how many crystals Kim's carrying. Then he casually guesses Kim's name, which catches Kim a bit off guard. Later, Kim sits across from Tae-sik and brings up Sung-hoon. He asks if Tae-sik really had to drag an innocent guy like that into this mess and make him a wanted man. He remembers Sung-hoon saying he should ask Tae-sik for a bonus, so he mentions it. Tae-sik just nods and says, sure. No problem. Then Kim asks why Tae-sik brought him back. Tae-sik says Kim went into the tower 2 weeks ago, and no one heard from him since. Kim asks if that's the only reason. That's when Tae-sik gets serious. He tells Kim there might be a way to cure his mom with something called an elixir. Kim already knows what that is. It's a super rare magical potion that can heal any illness. Tae-sik confirms that only 3 of these things have ever been found. The first one popped up when someone cleared the 50th floor early on after the tower first showed up. The other 2 were rewards from gates. Tae-sik is kind of surprised that Kim already knows all this. He says Kim must also realize what those 2 gates had in common. Kim figures out they were both maze gates. These gates are known for being super tough with random monsters, tough gatekeepers, and all sorts of traps, but anyone with an ID can still go in since they are not ranked. Tae-sik just told Kim that a 3rd maze gate popped up in the US 2 days ago, and it's their last shot at making things right. Before Kim heads out, Tae-sik reminds him to take a quick shower so he doesn't freak out his mom. He also mentions he'll cover all the expenses for the stuff Kim brought back from the gate. As Kim leaves, Tae-sik lets out a sigh, feeling the pressure of helping him out again. Not long after, Kim bumps into Sung-hoon, who's not too thrilled about it, but says he's been told to escort Kim to the gate. Apparently, Tae-sik wants to see if Kim really deserves that bonus. Sung-hoon adds that Tae-sik has already sorted out all the paperwork for Kim's stay and grabbed supplies, so they should hit the road now. Kim asks for a second before they head out. The scene switches to the base on the 20th floor, and there's a notification that Kim passed the test, leveling up his synchronization skill to E rank. This upgrade lets him use up to 35% more of his ego's power. Kim thinks it's pretty rare to get ranked skills and feels way more pumped than he did during the test. Sung-hoon mentions that clearing the 20th floor test usually takes a whole day, but Kim knocked it out in under 20 minutes. He's still in shock, but shrugs it off and tells Kim they gotta get going. Kim asks when their flight is, and Sung-hoon tells him they are not flying anywhere. Kim's a bit confused until Sung-hoon says they are going to the 5th floor instead. He mentions that the tower is huge and divided into zones, so players from different countries barely run into each other, but everything's still linked up globally. As they hop into a lift, Kim is shocked to see it actually working because the tower barely has any power. Sung-hoon explains that the whole place runs like a massive artifact powered by energy crystals. When the elevator doors slide open on the 5th floor, Kim is totally caught off guard to find the international transfer portal. He never imagined he'd actually use one. He just heard whispers about how it's secretly run by some global organizations. Sung-hoon mentions that only a select few can get in, and Tae-sik made it happen for them. They stand in front of the US portal, and Sung-hoon asks if Kim's ready to take a ride on the fastest transport out there. Kim grins, saying it looks fun even if he's not really sure it counts as transport. A little while later, they land in Los Angeles. Kim glances at a report listing the 3 top rankers set to help with the gate: America's Iron Shield, Europe's Athena, and Korea's Demon King, who's famous for his glowing eyes. Kim starts to wonder if he can keep up with players like that. Just then, they pull up to a military site surrounded by tanks. Sung-hoon tells him this is where everything kicks off in the crazy part of this world. They are standing in front of Orion's maze. While they are checking out the gate, a group of players spots the newcomers and wonders if they are Korean. Bale with his white hair says he's never seen Kim before and figures is with the association. He uses his ability to check him out. A purple-haired girl takes a look too and finds out Kim has 0 stats and is only level 1, plus a unique skill that she can't read. She asks Bal if he can see it, but is just as lost. Both of them get curious and the girl smirks saying Kim looks like her type and teaming up with him could be fun. At the stone wall, something suddenly darts out. Kim keeps his cool and swings his sword just as a giant spider leaps at him. He calls for Sun-hoon who rushes over and lands a solid hit right in the spider's face. The monster disappears and Sun-hoon breathes a sigh of relief. Kim nods in approval and smiles, saying it's time to head out. Sun-hoon agrees since they've already been at it for 15 hours. Kim reaches out to thank him, and Sun-hoon jokes that with Kim's crazy growth rate, he should treat him to dinner next time. They shake hands and part ways on good terms. A week after Sun-hoon left, Kim has gotten pretty good at taking down those giant spiders, but seeing the same monsters over and over again makes him feel stuck. He figures the tougher ones must be hanging out deeper near the boss room. Then he spots a ball of white threads and remembers Sun-hoon saying it's Arachne's thread. It's like a one-way ticket that zaps him back to the gate's entrance, a safety net from Tisik meant for emergencies only. But Kim already made up his mind not to use it until he gets the elixir. Suddenly, he freezes. A scream echoes in the air. The rings on his hands start glowing, and lightning zaps around him as he pulls out his sword. He asks the egos if they heard that scream. Lu chimes in saying something feels off and advises him not to go. He tenses up thinking if this could be a trap, he should check it out now before it gets dangerous, and his egos agree. He spots a girl tied up and crying for help, but something just doesn't seem right. He's confused about why she's inside a gate and suspects it could be some kind of trap, like an anglerfish trying to lure in its prey. Kim decides to act like he didn't see the girl, but then he hears her calling out for her mom. She's sobbing, asking for forgiveness for not being able to get money for treatment. He stops dead in his tracks, jaw tight. Lu just rolls his eyes, saying it's obviously a trap and that even a 9-year-old wouldn't fall for it. But Kim grips his sword tightly, darts forward, cuts through the vines, and snatches the girl up in a heartbeat. Later, they lean against a wall for a break. Kim asks if Sejong got separated from her team by accident. She explains that it all happened in a flash. Her name's Sejong, and her special ability is enhancement. Kim thinks that even a kid as young as 10 could become a player if their skills kick in, although it's tough for minors to join teams. Since enhancement skills are pretty rare, that's probably why Sejong found herself in such a dangerous spot. He hands her a basic safe zone kit, which will only work for a day, but he hopes someone might show up to help her during that time. Suddenly, Sejong stands up with tears in her eyes and begs him to take her with him. He turns her down, saying that players need to learn to survive on their own. There's not much else he can do for her. Sejong grabs onto his sleeve and pleads to stay, saying she can pitch in. She mentions that she's new and just starting out but has some special skills. Kim thinks for a moment as she talks about being promised money for joining in. He turns away and tells her he's not coming back until the gate's cleared. It's going to be risky. And while they'll share the reward, the elixir isn't hers to claim. She seems taken aback and asks if that means he's actually taking her along. Kim says yes, but warns her that if she holds him back, he'll just hand her off to another team since he's not her babysitter. She shouted her thanks and Kim realized that having an assistant makes hunting way easier. Meanwhile, Lu looked more bummed out than ever. An ant monster popped out from the trees. As it got closer, Sejong quickly raised her hands when Kim told her to buff him. A magical energy swelled around his legs. Without hesitating, Kim charged in and sliced through the monsters with clean, precise strikes. One by one, they dropped like flies. Then another creature lunged at him from the front. Kim slipped under it and struck upward. In a blink, the beast crumpled down lifeless. A notification pops up saying Liu has taken in the blood of a poisonous ant. It's been 2 weeks since Sejong teamed up with Kim and hunting's gotten way easier. While he hands her some food, she's super excited about leveling up again. He congratulates her and she beams saying she'll catch up to him in no time. Kim just grins and doubts she will. Out of nowhere, he gets a weird feeling and stands up. He whispers to Sejong to stay still. As he moves cautiously, he spots a big guild nearby led by Iron Shield who's the top ranker in America. Kim couldn't shake the thought. If Iron Shield is as tough as people say, then he must have already sensed him nearby. They might think he's trailing them and could decide to attack. He needs to bail and fast. Just then, the wall he was hiding behind gives way. Dust kicks up everywhere. Once it settles, he spots a huge sword planted right in front of him. Iron chucked his sword and one of his guys asked why he did that. He just shrugged it off and said he thought he felt someone behind the wall, but now the feeling is gone. Meanwhile, Kim and the girl snuck into a cave. She wondered why they were hiding since they hadn't done anything wrong. Kim explained that it would have been cool to meet normally, but since they were spying, which was totally against the rules, they had to keep it low-key. He added that the attack seemed a bit sudden and figured the group might have mixed them up with enemies. They take a quick break to catch their breath. The girl asks what they should do next. Kim tells her to keep an eye on the Iron Guild's tracks from a safe distance. This way, they'll have a better shot at heading in the right direction without getting caught. As they trail behind the Iron Guild, Kim points out the red circles on the wall saying they mean the guild has taken out the monsters and disarmed the traps. He insists they need to be the first ones to find the boss room. Out of nowhere, he sees Sejong darting off and wonders where she's headed. He peeks ahead and suddenly his instincts kick in, telling him to duck for cover as something comes flying his way. Out of nowhere, Iron Shield shows up right behind Kim. He tries to turn around, but the blonde dude grabs him by the head and slams him into the ground so hard Kim can't believe he's already fading out from just one hit. After a bit, Kim slowly starts to wake up. The first thing he sees is Iron's angry face right in front of him slapping him hard. Iron grabs him by the hair and yanks his head up. He demands to know who sent him and calls him a damn spy. Kim mutters a curse under his breath. He doesn't fully understand English, but he catches the word spy and figures this guy thinks he's been sneaking around. Iron stares him down and asks how he managed to mess with his senses earlier. He says if Kim gives the right answer, he'll make sure the death is quick and painless. Kim shouts that he's not a spy, just out here trying to find some gear. Iron's taken aback for a second when he realizes Kim doesn't even speak English. Some of his guildmates start to think Kim might be putting on an act. Iron figures it's best to let Rogers take over and steps back. Rogers' hand walks up and Kim recognizes him as a well-known Korean American. He wonders if Rogers knows his Korean too. Rogers pulls out a bag of potions from Kim's gear, saying he noticed everything's top-notch. He apologizes for the rough welcome and explains that their guildmaster is feeling the heat. Kim is surprised by how friendly Rogers seems and assumes they just want to talk since he is translating. Rogers asks why Kim spied on them and tricked their leader. Kim explains that it is all a misunderstanding and he is just a solo player here to hunt. Rogers laughs and looks away as he says he has no plans to fool anyone. He thinks they already knew and allowed it by default. Then out of nowhere, he pulls out a dagger. Kim stares at it with a confused look. A second later, a sharp pain tears through his body as the dagger is driven into his leg. He screams in pain and Rogers pushes the blade in even deeper. Kim grits his teeth as Rogers yells at him, accusing him of trying to play mind games. While Rogers tortures Kim, a guy behind him talks to Iron and mentions how weird Kim's swords are with no visible stats and too dull to even slice through an orc's hide. Iron just says he'll deal with them in the workshop. The guy agrees and adds that all swords look like junk compared to Iron's weapon, the Corleone. Later, Rogers just starts tossing potions around to tease Kim and keeps messing with his injuries. Kim is in pain with his teeth clenched while Rogers keeps insisting on who he's working for. Finally, Kim admits he lied before about just being out for a hunt. The truth is he's going solo. Rogers punches him again, clearly more frustrated this time. He says they already checked Kim's stats, the rope is just basic gear. Any real hunter would have escaped by now. Then he pulls out a dagger and warns Kim to stop pretending or deal with the consequences. Rogers keeps shouting, but Iron eventually steps in and tells him to take a break for lunch. On his way out, Rogers kicks Kim in the stomach and tells him to think wisely. Kim lies there frustrated with himself. He had told himself not to get overconfident. He spent too much time with Tisik and forgot where his own limits were. Getting through the maze gate feels like an impossible task now. This isn't just bad luck. It's because he relied too much on borrowed gear instead of trusting his own abilities. Out of nowhere, a girl is watching them from a distance using some kind of spell. She's in charge of a guild and tells her guildmaster that the target is about 2 kilometers away. She mentions that the Iron Guild is probably searching around the base for now. Then she turns to her guildmaster curious about what they should do next, but the master just stays quiet and keeps observing. Then the worst happened. We found out the Iron Guild cut off Kim's fingers and toes a total of 27 times. His bones were broken 63 times and he was stabbed or pierced 21 times. His swollen face said everything. He looked like he had almost given up. They beat him more than 200 times and left him tied up in the same place for 4 days straight. Now the entire Iron Guild stands around him. The guildmaster looks at Kim and says he might have recruited him if he had shown just a little more talent. He tells Bruce to grab one of Kim's swords. He says he was going to recycle it, but now he wants to honor Kim by using it to kill him and bury him at the gate. Calls it an honorable death, like that makes it better. He picks up Lu, looks at Kim, and says he'll give him a clean end. Then he kneels down, presses the sword to Kim's stomach, and drives it in. Blood hits Kim's eyes and everything starts to fade. But the second he connects with Lu again, red mana rushes in and heals him. The guildmaster just freezes. Kim snaps the ropes, crashes into the stone, grabs Lu, and holds the blade right to Iron's throat. The guild members pull out their weapons, but Iron remains chill as he casually grabs Lu. He wonders if Kim is hiding some serious power. There's something dark about him, kinda like the vibe of a demon king, and he figures the girl must have picked Kim for a good reason. Ian thinks she's just messing with him for fun. Kim is struggling, but quickly realizes that no matter what he does, he can't hurt Ian at all. Byron can't believe Kim managed to slip past detection and says not even Demon Kings could pull that off. He suggests they have a little chat. Kim realizes he's running out of options and starts to think about making a move from a distance. Just then, the guild master of another guild yells to attack. Out of nowhere, an arrow hits Ian's hand. He sees it's one of Artemis's arrows and freaks out, asking if it's Athena. A voice comes back laughing and saying it's been a while. Ian crushes the arrow in his fist, claiming her guild just declared war. Athena replies that their war never really ended. She gets ready for her next shot with this cool technique that pulls in air and compresses it into a super powerful arrow. When she lets it fly, the arrow zips through the air with a loud boom. Ian quickly grabs his sword and slams it into the ground. That sets off a magical barrier strong enough to stop the arrow in its tracks. The impact causes a massive explosion that shakes the ground. Once the smoke clears, Ian tells Rogers to keep an eye on Kim and make sure he stays safe. Then he turns to face Athena's guild and gives the order for his army to charge. The top guilds clash, wreaking havoc all around. Mountains tumble down and trees get smashed as they plow through everything in their path. Rogers watches the fight and says the sound alone gives him chills. Says the fighters look more like gods than actual people. Then he spots Kim still on his feet, but barely holding it together. Rogers just shrugs and says they should kill Kim and say he didn't make it. Before Kim can even move, Rogers disappears and pops up right in front of him. Says he can't let Kim live after seeing what he really is. As the blade gets close to Kim's neck, he narrows his eyes and yells one word, reflect. Rogers looks confused for half a second, and then boom, a bright flash explodes from Kim. Brunhard kicks in and blasts back all the damage it had stored in one huge release. The blast is massive. Everything nearby is totally wrecked. Once the smoke settles, you can still feel the tension in the air. Rogers is on the ground, barely hanging on. Kim is still standing but looks completely worn out. Brunhard chimes in saying it's taken way more damage than it can handle and is about to fall apart. Kim's final defensive move comes at a heavy cost. Brunhard's core shatters completely. Even so, he walks toward Rogers and raises his sword. Rogers starts begging for his life, but Kim's eyes are locked with bloodlust. He drives the blade straight into Rogers's chest and lets Lou finish the job. Right after that, Kim stumbles and drops to the ground. Back when Ian stabbed him, Kim pulled through by sinking with Lou and healing himself. But now after using Brunhard, the damage is too much. The bleeding just won't stop. Out of the blue, someone calls his name and he looks up hoping it is his sister, Yeojun. Instead, the girl beside him frowns and says he's got it wrong as her name is Sejun. He notices a weird smirk on her face as she plops down next to him. She starts talking about how if she saves his life and gets him the elixir he needs, he'll owe her one. Then she hits him with the question, what's he willing to give back? Is he gonna risk his life for her or be her slave for good? Her tone seems all playful, but there's definitely something darker lurking underneath. Kim hesitated at first, but eventually raised his hand and spoke up. He mentioned he needed one more thing, which was help to take down Iron. With a clenched fist, he declared his intent to destroy the Iron Guild. Sejun pointed out that now he was asking for 2 favors, but she still encouraged him to go along with the deal. Just before losing consciousness, Kim tacked on one last request. He wanted his sword back from the guy with the white beard. Then his hand fell, and he completely passed out. Sejun shook her head, wondering how many more demands he was going to throw at her. Bao shows up and mentions that Kim is quite the character. Sejun no Diaz and says that while Kim might come off as a nice guy, there's definitely more to him than meets the eye. Someone managed to bring out a darker side of him. She glances at Lou's glowing red light and asks Bao if he noticed how Kim stabbed Rogers. She's sure it wasn't just him losing control. He aimed for the vital spot on purpose. It might have been his first kill, but he did it without any second thoughts. Ball then asks what she plans to do about Rogers, who's still alive but coughing up blood and barely hanging on. Sejong decides to just leave it up to fate. She thinks Kim would prefer to let him live. As she talks, her hair starts to change, and purple energy spreads all over her body. She smirks and says revenge always tastes better with time. Ball asks if she's back as the Demon King. She tells him to chill out. That name was just a rumor people came up with. She steps forward glowing purple and says she's the one who's going to take down the Demon King. Kim suddenly wakes up and realizes he's alone in this strange glowing grid space. It hits him that he's stuck in his dream, the same one that's haunted him for 5 years. The nightmare had faded after he met Lou, but now it's back. When he touches the eerie surface around him, all those haunting memories start flooding back. He finds himself in a narrow well surrounded by stone walls that completely cut him off from the outside world. The rope he's holding feels like a reminder that he can never climb out on his own. He always needs someone to lift him up. Even his dreams now seem to mock him with that reality. As Kim sinks into despair, Lu shows up looking like a worn-out demon and reminds him that their connection has already fallen apart once. He asks how long Kim plans to hold on to it. When it comes to borrowing power, Lu questions how it's any different from relying on strength that others use. Whether it's earned or just a lucky break, the power Kim once had still belongs to him. Kim stares at the demon and asks who he is. Before Lu can answer, another voice chimes in. He turns to see Elle glowing like an angel, saying her power is his and pleading with him not to give up. Kim's eyes snap open and he spots Bal hanging out nearby watching him. He gives the guy a curious look and starts to wonder if Sejong might be somehow linked to the Demon King. Bal tells him that his sword is back and right next to him, just like he wanted. Kim is a bit taken aback to see his egos around, and they are all relieved that their master is finally awake. Bale suggests that Kim take it easy for a bit longer. They've patched him up with potions, but he should probably avoid moving around too much for now. Out of nowhere, the ground shakes like crazy. Kim looks up and sees Sejong floating above the ground. Cracks start forming everywhere, then suddenly the earth bursts open with this weird flash of light. Kim asks what's happening, and Bale replies calmly that it's a monster command. Then a huge metallic beast bursts out of the ground, its head on fire and mana swirling all around it. Ball casually mentions that it's Urgent, the master of the maze. Kim stands there blooded and dazed staring at the figure in front of him. So this must be the guardian of the gate, he mutters. Ball agrees, but says it's all a lot messier than it looks. Kim can't help but think that maybe this is what he's been fighting against all along. Meanwhile, Harian locks eyes with Sejong as flames reach out toward her. She stays totally chill, floating in the air without a care. The monster's eye lights up and a huge portal starts to open behind it, pulling everything in path. Kim can hardly believe what he's seeing and asks what kind of gate this is. Bo tells him to get out of the way and warns that getting pulled in means definite danger. Kim tightens his fist and blood starts dripping onto the grass as a red circle rips through the ground. An aura surrounds him and Kim. He wonders if it's some kind of dome. Sukwu quickly agrees, saying he's keen to pick up on that. The aura shields them from the monster. Out of nowhere, turquoise figures pop out of the portal, and 5 lizard-like monsters along with a big armored one rush at Sejong. She stands there serious and collected while the monsters charge at her from all directions. A wave of violet energy called ink flame bursts out, and the monsters let out a terrifying screech as a huge sword wrapped in blue-violet flames appears. Sejong lifts a finger. Inside the barrier, Kim is left speechless. The sword gives off this intense vibe, and Kim remembers Roger's mentioning that they call them deities. The armored beast turns to face the blade. Out of nowhere, purple energy crashes down, shaking the ground and sending black lightning all over the place. A huge rift opens up in the earth. Meanwhile, in a chill room with big columns, a small chest holds a glowing purple bottle. Lu can't believe he finally scored the elixir. Elle gives him a high five. Kim shuts the chest, still unable to wrap her head around the fact that it's real. Later on, Sejong, Bal and Kim are hanging out by a tall wall. Kim is feeling more puzzled than relieved. Sejong tells him she stuck to her promise and still wants revenge, but he shouldn't expect her to hand it to him on a silver platter. Kim just nods. He asks her if Sejong is her real name. With a smile, she says it is and that she's Korean. She mentions she has an elixir, and so does Bale, and offers Kim hers. He's curious why. She explains it's part of their deal, and this will help him get his revenge. His body's in rough shape, and he'll need the power. They are still after Harriet, and this is a way to invest in that. Kim stares at the glowing elixir and thinks back. There was a time he would have done anything for it, even laid down his life. But now he's decided to stop measuring himself against everyone else. He'll figure things out in his own way. He knows Lu would totally call him out if he let doubt creep in, and she'd be proud of him for not giving in. Kim asks what she wants in return and jokes about being her forever servant. Sejong laughs and tells him it's not like that. She just wants him to be her student. Kim can't believe what just happened. She tells him he's still too weak and needs to come back after he clears the 50th floor. When she touches his cheek, sparks fly from where her fingers brush against him. Confused, Kim asks what that was. She holds up the elixir bottle and says it's a sign they are in this together. Settling down on a rock, she explains that the elixir doesn't have any power yet, but it helps them see things more clearly. She notices his weird swords and offers to show him how to make one even stronger. But first, he has to drink the elixir. It's a bit risky and needs to be done just right. That's the first lesson. Outside, warriors are battling through ash and mud. Kim is a bit frozen, clutching his white sword. Elle and Lu both chime in, reminding him that Sejong isn't someone to trust and is pretty dangerous. Kim starts to shake as he glances at Ian, feeling totally confused. Ian is holding a girl and staring right at Kim. He says it's all just tricks from the Demon King and mentions that Sejong took out the maze boss while he wasn't paying attention. Sejong just says if you're handling something, then it's yours. She tells Kim to keep moving and follow her lead. Kim starts sweating a bit, wondering if she's actually the Demon King. He calls out to Iron, then suddenly yells at him to turn around. Kim lifts his sword and shouts that he's going to kill him. Iron looks confused for a second, then smirks like he expected this. Kim starts thinking maybe he got played. Then a flash of purple light shows up, and Iron charges in with his sword swinging. He tells Kim is changed and turned into the Demon King himself. Then he lifts his blade, ready to end it once and for all. The scene cuts back to Kim's memory where he's downing the elixir in the castle. It starts glowing with this violet energy. A notification pops up saying he's recovering, and he suddenly feels this intense pressure building up inside him. His eyes go wide and start glowing pink. Bal and Sejong are both watching him, but Kim insists he doesn't feel different, just a little better. Sejong takes a breath and explains that it's totally normal. The elixir just brings out his hidden potential and skills. For now, the physical changes are really minor, but even a tiny boost could make a huge difference in survival during a fight. The first thing he notices is how differently he reacts now. Back in the heat of battle, Iron Sword zooms past Kim's face. He quickly dodges just in time, and the blade slams into the ground, making a huge thud as Kim pushes himself back to keep some distance. Sejong had already filled him in on this part. The elixir really sharpens your senses, and now Kim is finally feeling it for himself. Iron's fast moves, which used to look all blurry, are starting to come into focus for him. From a distance, Sejong is watching and gives a nod of approval to Kim for getting closer to ranking up. But Kim gets where she's coming from. The elixir hasn't made him strong enough to take down Iron's shield just yet. He knows that as a newbie, he can't expect to overpower a pro. Sejong told him that for now, all he could really do was dodge and wait for the right moment to strike. She even said that you don't use a sledgehammer to kill a fly. Kim remembers mentioning how Iron never really lets his guard down. The way he stays calm isn't cocky. It's just the kind of quiet confidence that comes from someone who doesn't feel the need to show off their strength. And just like she thought, Iron starts to pick up on things. After a quick chat, he has enough info to figure out what's going on. Everything is playing out just like Sejong said it would. Once he realizes the truth, Iron decides to get serious about the fight. He activates Kallion, his sacred weapon, and a wave of mana starts spreading all around him. He charges straight at Kim and swings his sword in a big wide arc. Kim braces for impact and turns to face the strike, remembering what Sejong told him. When Iron does this, he can't hesitate or flinch. He just has to meet it head-on with his own blade, but things go off plan. A spark lights up on Earth, signaling the awakening and starting to soak up Kallion's power. Iron's taken aback. El explains that only a small amount can be absorbed because of the user's low level. The whole thing wraps up in no time. Blue notices that Iron looks totally shook, surprised that his invincible attack actually got blocked. As Iron stumbles, realizing he's lost his power source, Kim takes the chance to dash back and create some space. It's time for the final move. He pulls out Arachne's thread balls. When Iron sees Kim retreat, he freaks out and lunges forward, shouting that he won't let him get away. The thread wraps around Kim as he flips Iron the bird. Iron swings his sword, but Kim vanishes right in front of him. He curses and Sejong bursts out laughing. Iron turns to her and suggests she should keep him entertained instead, but Sejong just coolly calls up this huge flare behind her. When her demonic energy kicks in, Iron goes totally still. Meanwhile, outside the portal at the military base, Kim is just chilling, waiting for Sung-hoon. When Sung-hoon steps out of the car, they share a friendly smile. Kim tells Tae-sik that Sung-hoon was the one who helped get his mom back home, so he couldn't give her the elixir at the hospital. He gives a big thanks to both Tae-sik and Sung-hoon before heading out. In the room, his mom opens her eyes and realizes her son is back. He asks how she's doing. She says she wants to see him one last time before she goes and starts to cry. Kim tries to keep it together and tells her that everything's going to be okay now. With a shaky voice, she says there's something she's always wanted to tell him, but then she starts coughing and looks even worse. Kim quickly downs the elixir, and a soft purple glow spreads across her face. She finally relaxes, feeling that everything will be alright. Before long, she falls asleep right there on the floor. Elle and Lou remark that it must have been a lot for her to handle in one day. They are still worried about how close she is to them, but there's not much they can do. Later that night, there's a sudden bright flash, and Kim's mom opens her eyes as her body slowly starts to heal. The scene shifts to Yo-jung dialing her brother's number and gets ignored like always. It's been a whole month with just one measly text from him. She storms out, declaring she's heading home to sort him out. When she kicks the door open, she starts shouting about how careless he is with the family without even looking around the house. Then her mom asks if she's Yo-jung. Totally caught off guard, Yo-jung freezes as her lively mom tells her to keep it down since her brother's still sleeping. Yo-jung starts to cry, not believing her mom is better now. Hearing some noise from the kitchen, the protagonist opens his eyes. He catches a whiff of his mom's soup and tries to keep his emotions in check. As he looks at the door, he thinks that once he steps through, he'll see what he fought so hard for. He figures he should smile and act like everything's normal. He pushes the door open and exclaims in surprise who this lady is. His mom blushes and says she's just made dinner. Yoo-jung admits he's even more shocked. Later, news breaks about the missing elixir. His sister couldn't believe Kim went to the gate, took down the powerful players, and acquired the elixir, which makes their mom look younger. Kim admits he never thinks it would have that effect. Although Yoo-jung cried earlier, she doesn't know how to react and asks Kim to get her an elixir too, but he dismisses her request. Kim's mother apologizes, but he brushes it off by saying it was not that tough and that his son is capable. The next day, Tae-sik visits and says he has something important to discuss, so he will come by later. His mom asks him to join them for dinner next time and thanks him for everything he does. Tae-sik blushes and promises to visit soon. At a cafe, Tae-sik enjoys pork and wine and jokes about how Kim gets his elixir. He admits he finds it hard to resist soju snacks. Picking up on his behavior, Kim asks if he has feelings for his mom and points out that Tae-sik has been looking after her while he was away. He adds that he doesn't think his dad would mind if it was someone like Tae-sik. Tae-sik blushes but quickly shifts the topic to elixir. Kim says they need a soundproof barrier, and Tae-sik replies that it is in his car. Kim explains it is because the story will be complicated. When Tae-sik realizes what Kim means, he jumps up in rage and shouts and curses like a protective father, demanding to know where they live so he can kill them all. Kim tries to calm him and thanks him for taking his side, but insists he will handle the Iron Guild himself. Tae-sik continues acting like a parent and says that true revenge must come from deep bitterness and rage. He even hands Kim a piece of burned meat to stir those feelings, but Kim tells him to stop pretending to be his father. Kim then changes the subject and says he still has another debt to settle. He asks about the Guardian on the 4th floor. Tae-sik answers that there are 37 players in total and 70% of them are C class. The group is strong enough to defeat the 30th floor Guardian, and they are expected to return with good news. At night, a guy sprints away saying that the association needs to know the Class C subjugation army has been wiped out. He has his arm severed and blood gushes out of it. More than that, a terrifying monster lurks behind him and savagely kills him. Sung-hoon reminds Kim that both he and his mother need a checkup after drinking the elixir, but says only Tae-sik can handle it, not a regular healer. He then mentions the yellow crystal Kim received and explains he already sent half the earnings to Tae-sik, who reluctantly accepted it to clear his debt. Sung-hoon suggests checking the details and Kim sees that nearly 20 billion coins remain even after tax. Sung-hoon says he scouted homes along the Buchan River and picked the best options for Kim to choose from. When Kim asked how he chose the house they would soon call home, Sung-hoon explains that Tae-sik officially made him Kim's personal assistant. Excited to start, he shows his contact details. The scene shifts outside a large building where Sung-hoon, carrying their bags, says he has prepared everything and asks Kim what he plans to do with all the money. He tells Kim there are still 8 billion won in cash. Kim replies that he will pay off his debt and buy new equipment. Sung-hoon asks how much Kim owes, and when Kim says 3.5 billion coins, he shouts in disbelief. Kim reflects that the man who let him buy armor on credit must be crazy, but admits he was just as reckless for accepting. In the end, he manages to earn enough to pay it all back. The scene shifts to the armor shop. A small child runs in and excitedly shouts that a customer has arrived. Outside the shop, Kim and Sung-hoon wait near the entrance. Sung-hoon tells Kim he will wait upstairs. Kim thanks him and wonders who the visitor might be. The blacksmith steps out and looks at Kim in surprise. He says Kim has changed so much in a few months that he barely recognizes him. Kim greets him politely and asks how he is. The blacksmith replies that he is well and mentions he received the money Kim sent through the association, although it was not the full amount. Kim immediately apologizes, but the blacksmith tells him not to worry. He explains that Kim's letter showed he had sent all his life savings, and he admits he had already written off the debt, believing Kim would not survive. Kim laughs and says he has come to pay the rest. The blacksmith smiles and agrees to accept it if Kim insists. After a moment, his expression turns serious and he asks if Brunhard is gone. Kim hesitates, then confirms that Brunhard disintegrated after saving him. The blacksmith sighs and says that was always Brunhard's fate, though losing a weapon is always sad. He then asks Kim to share what happened in Brunhard's final moments. The next day while Kim talks to her mother, Yoo-jung looks at Kim in confusion and asks how he grows taller overnight, wondering what happened. At the office, Sung-hoon stares at Kim in amazement and jokes that he should become a model. Kim tells him to stop talking nonsense. Sung-hoon, still shocked, points out that Kim has grown 3 centimeters overnight and praises the elixir for increasing his muscle mass. Kim's thoughts drift to a memory of his sister yelling at him for an elixir. He remembers she said the same thing before. When he notices that his eyes have turned dark brown, he reflects on his past struggles. No matter how hard he trained, he never saw real results. After awakening, however, his body transforms completely, and even his muscles clearly show the change. Suddenly, a window appears showing that his body is restructuring. Kim mutters in confusion. Lu mocks him for being weak, and Kim tells him to shut up. Later, Sung-hoon says he has Kim's test results and starts with the stamina test. He jokes that 25 years ago, Kim would have broken Olympic records. Kim frowns and asks why he's using ancient standards when neither of them has even seen the Olympics. Sung-hoon just smirks and says Kim is around level 10. Kim snaps that he should have just said that from the start. Sung-hoon tells him not to be shocked because Kim's mana and mana control are excellent, and he has SS potential, which is a sign of a top-tier class. When Sung-hoon shouts that Kim should at least act surprised, Kim calmly replies that the Demon King already told him everything, so he is just playing it cool. Tae-sik walks in and asks if Kim is done. Kim says yes and asks how his mother is doing. Tae-sik tells him she is perfectly healthy and surprisingly has the muscle strength of a grown man. Even more shocking is that she can now use items even though she is a normal citizen. Kim stunned asks if that is really true. Tae-sik says he will explain everything later but wants to discuss something else first. He asks if Kim has been hunting lately. Kim says he is taking a break because El is still absorbing Kalian's power. El quickly apologizes, but Kim tells him not to worry. Tae-sik then asks when Kim plans to return. Kim says probably after the weekend. Tae-sik tells him to keep next week open. Kim asks if something is wrong. Tae-sik explains that they have lost contact with the Class C subjugation army, so now they are preparing a Class B team. When Kim asks about the 4th floor guardian, Tae-sik confirms it has not been caught yet. Kim is shocked. Tae-sik adds that the real problem is the monster is now hunting players to get stronger. At that moment, Sung-hoon walks in and says he wants to join the conversation too. Kim finds out that the Class B subjugation army is a big raid team with over 30 members, mostly Class B players. Since Kim doesn't have a class yet, he drinks the elixir and starts getting stronger. Then we are in Tae-sik's office where he tells Kim he should take the official class assessment now. He mentions that Kim doesn't need to worry about using items anymore. Tae-sik thinks Kim's physical ability is about Class D, but believes he could easily reach Class B due to his potential. He explains that to qualify for Class B, a player needs to hit level 100. Kim wonders if the class rankings are a bit vague because the whole idea of potential seems kind of unclear. Tae-sik clarifies that even though it's called potential, it actually relates to how much mana you can handle and control, which is really linked to how well you can fight. He mentions some players with cool abilities and points out that actual levels don't always matter. What really counts is how stats grow, and now people can't check levels because of privacy rules. Kim figures he'll probably stand out once he gets a class. Tae-sik agrees, saying people will definitely notice if the tutorial slayer suddenly moves up to Class B. Kim asks him not to call him that, but Tae-sik says it's impossible to avoid the spotlight. Kim doesn't mind being famous but hates all the attention, especially with the Iron Guild keeping an eye on him. Tae-sik gets his caution, but reminds him that he can't just pick a class by himself. Kim thinks Tae-sik has some plans since he asked him to keep his schedule free. Tae-sik believes Kim will go for the assessment because getting a class changes how people see you. Kim feels a bit trapped and asks what other options he has. Tae-sik thinks it'd be a good idea to hop into a guild just for the subjugation raid and offers to arrange a meetup. But Kim's not so sure any guild would take in a stranger, especially if he plans to bail right after. Then Tae-sik pulls up the list. Kim Dong, the captain of the Child Guild, introduces himself as the guy leading the raid. He mentions they'll be heading out after roll call and is excited to work with everyone. The others say hello while two groups hang out nearby. He appreciates them letting him join, saying it's a huge favor. Sunpil chimes in, saying they owe him their lives, so this is the least they can do. He also mentions their guild is just there for support and not the main players. Kim laughs, saying at least they are not just pack mules. There's probably a battle coming up. Sunpil doubts they'll actually get to fight alongside someone like Dong leading the way. Kim brings up that Dong might move up to Class A, and that's when things really start getting intense. Kim doesn't think getting praise is a big deal compared to titles like Demon King or Iron Shield. Elle argues that the girl is a different case, and Lu jokes that Kim's standards are getting pretty out there. Hanul comments that Kim looks more handsome these days, and Jae-won cracks a joke about plastic surgery. Another guy calls him out for being rude, and Kim wonders if he really looks that different. Lu says Kim's vibe is definitely different now, and he actually looks cool. Kim clarifies he didn't get any surgery. He just picked up some class skills and grew a bit taller. Lu laughs and calls that a weak excuse. Sung-hoon admits he's jealous and wishes he could get a skill like that. Lu keeps teasing, and Kim tells him to knock it off. As the gang gets ready to head out, a Class B soldier shoots them a pointed glance. On the 4th floor of the tower, Dong tells the search party to start tracking the Guardian while the others kick back. Everyone nods in agreement. Later, while the team is chilling, Kim takes a look at them and figures that Sunpil must be the archer. Hanul is the mage, Sungwoo's the swordsman, and Jaewon's the tank. Curious, he asked Sunpil about their guild's name, Morningstar, which cracks everyone up. Sunpil explains that the name comes from the time Kim left the cave to fetch help, and it reminds them of a morningstar shining hope. He adds that Kim can relax and talk more casually now since he's not their guide anymore. Sunpil asks if Kim is the same age as Sungwoo and if it's cool to call him bro, to which Kim nods in agreement. The Class B player jokes that this feels more like a picnic than a raid. Seunghoon points out Namyoon Suk, a Class B guy from their brother guild, who's here for the raid. When Kim asks about the guild's name, Seunghoon mentions it's called Survival of the Fittest, emphasizing that they care a lot about power, tradition, and loyalty. Sunpil jokes that the guild sounds like a bunch of boomers, while Kim silently gripes about these millennials. Yoonsuk then takes a jab at Kim's group, saying they are just slacking off and acting all-important just because they are in this raid. He tells them to step up and stop joking around like kids. That really ticks off the group, and Yoonsuk suggests they might as well just bail. Sunpil feels bad for Kim, saying he doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Kim is fuming but just bows his head in silence. El shows up and tells him to chill, while Lu warns him not to blow a fuse and do something reckless. Kim is feeling really frustrated and is starting to wonder if the effects of past torture are messing with him or if something else is going on. Dong tinkles in, asking if Kim noticed the fuss earlier. He makes it clear he's not interrogating anyone since he's the captain of the subjugation army and doesn't need all the details. Kim admits there was an argument and asks for a duel with Namyoon Suk to sort things out before the main fight. Yoonsuk looks puzzled, wondering what's happening, while Kim's team is left wondering if a brawl is really about to kick off. Dong questions the decision, pointing out the clear gap between Class B and Class C. Kim agrees but adds a condition. He reminds everyone that Morningstar from Class C is just backup, while Guild from Class B is the main force. He then proposes switching their positions, apologizes for not bringing it up earlier, and asks for their trust just this once. A Class B member objects, questioning Kim's authority to make that call while others doubt he will stick to his word. In response, Kim offers 500 million won to anyone who can beat him, leaving Class B stunned and feeling like they just hit the jackpot with no chance of losing. Dong is totally taken aback. What he sensed earlier is the real deal. He decides to confirm it right away and announces that he'll allow it as the captain of the subjugation army. The duel is set on a field where they can't use weapons or go overboard, and it ends only when one side throws in the towel. Sunpil is holding Kim's sword while Kim checks the distance, feeling a bit unsure. Lu chimes in, saying it doesn't really matter since the stronger fighter will have the advantage as their connection grows. El just tells Kim to watch out. The Class B player lets Kim go first because he thinks dragging out the fight will be more entertaining and challenges Kim to show what he's got. Kim's feeling a bit uneasy. His opponent's from Class B, but something just doesn't seem right. The guy looks like he's got a bunch of openings, which makes Kim suspect it might be a trap. Instead of dwelling on it, he decides to trust his speed and goes for it first. He charges in with a flying punch fueled by anger. His opponent doesn't flinch, making Kim wonder if he's just super confident or ready to counterattack, but it's too late to back out now. When the counter hits, Kim plans to dodge and come back swinging. Kim moves with all his might, landing a rocket punch right in his opponent's gut and sending him crashing to the ground. The guy's knocked out cold. His teammates look worried, while Kim's crew is just stunned at how much stronger he's gotten. Dong is feeling a bit uneasy about what just went down and announces that player Kim is the winner. He thinks it's tough to figure out what to do next. Meanwhile, three guys reach out to Captain Dong, letting him know the search party is back. At the guild building in apartment number 43, the president of the Korean Players Association is having a chat with Tae-sik. Tae-sik mentions they sent out a Class B subjugation army and got them moving on Friday morning. As he reads through the player names, the guild president talks about how it started at the association's underground training hall, then moved over to the global transfer portal. Now the player is even using a private hospital, and Seunghoon is helping him out as his assistant. It's pretty pathetic how he gives so many perks to a player who's not even part of their crew. Locking eyes with Tae-sik, he tells him he has some serious stuff to explain. Out of nowhere, the scene shifts to the players getting ready to fight, and a huge terrifying monster with red eyes shows up by the mountain. It looms there, clutching a man in its grip, reminding everyone just how dangerous the situation really is. Kim knows that players often deal with high stakes in these crazy battles, but nobody ever gets used to seeing a friend taken down by a beast like that. Dong doesn't waste any time. He grabs his sword and slashes at the monster with a water jet cutter that sends this awesome blue light gleaming from his blade. His eyes are blazing with anger as he rallies all the soldiers to jump into action while Kim steps up fueled by determined fury. Kim notices that for a subjugation raid, everything kicks off with the captain's first hit marking the start of the fight. Right after that, the team goes all out with their best skills to hit the Guardian hard. As expected, this turns the creature into a wild beast, making it focus all its rage on them. When it starts to wobble, the frontline tankers jump in to take over. The captain uses earth magic to create a stone wall for protection. The tankers bang their shields on the ground, preparing for the monster's charge. The beast strikes with full force, but the players stand firm with synchronized barrier skills. Next, the Class D players and those below throw explosive items over the wall while archers support them with high-angle shots. The monster suddenly faces a barrage of attacks. An explosion erupts resembling a mini-nuclear blast, and the force pushes players backward. Kim notices that the plan is straightforward but actually works. Even after the chaos settles down, the monster still sounds pretty wild. She tells Sunpil they should hang back and keep an eye on things instead of rushing in without a plan. Sunpil insists they've earned their spot as the main attack team. But before he can finish his thought, a huge hit smashes the stone wall to pieces. The players stand there in shock as the monster goes on a rampage. Kim knows the biggest problem with this plan is that if it fails, everything could fall apart. Just like now, the monster screams like a wild beast finally set free after years of suffering. As the players fight hard, the orcs take control of the battlefield. An orc throws a player aside like a piece of wood. One player yells for young Wu to help him. Even though it feels like 30 minutes have passed, they have to use healing potions already. Young Wu points out that it has only been 5 minutes since the battle started. The player is surprised and looks at Captain Dong, impressed by his amazing skill in fighting the orc. Dong was in a frenzied state, attacking with speed and precision. But when he looked back, he saw something concerning. The orc was healing quickly. Its rune healing ability was almost as strong as a high-class guardian's. Realizing his attacks were not working, Dong yelled for the team to change formations and called the back-end units to the front. Sunil tells Kim they need to get ready. Kim agrees and walks toward the orc. Others warn him it is dangerous as the orc swings its sword to strike. But just before the sword hits him, Kim taps it aside and slams the ground to break it. Kim feels confident because he trusts his instincts. The newer players don't see it yet, but this orc fights like a regular one. Kim easily dodges the orc's attacks. He figured out the pattern. Besides its strong hits and quick healing, it moves just like every orc he has fought before. In the quiet moment, a thought comes to mind. Someone once asked what he would do with his 8,000,000,001. Back then, he simply said he would pay off his debts and buy better equipment. It felt small at the time, but now it gives him strength. That promise still matters. With this in mind, he changes his approach. No more playing it safe. It's time to see what his new equipment can really do. He charges ahead at insane speed and slips between the orc's legs while cutting them clean off with raw power. His boots shine with mana as Hermes' swiftness activates and boosts his speed for 5 minutes. He will reach full speed in 3. Kim looks back and sees the orc bleeding badly with its legs destroyed. His solo attack leaves everyone on the battlefield in shock, including Dawn. Dong tells Kim that light attacks won't work against the orc's strong healing. He suggests that Kim should go deeper and save his energy. However, Kim stays calm as he notices the orc's movement starting to slow down. Then he sees the crystal on the orc's neck glow, activating wound aggravation. This slows the orc's healing as well as his own mana healing. The orc is on the brink of collapse and leaves itself wide open. Kim rushes in again with insane speed. His teammates watch in disbelief as he shifts his attack style with every hit. After a storm of wild strikes, Kim stops and smiles. Everything is going just as he planned. He jumps behind the orc and goes into a frenzy, cutting off limbs and tearing into its body without slowing down. As he lands on the ground, he attacks again. He strikes the orc's face, making it angry. He delivers a strong blow and lands safely. The orc staggers forward and sways. Kim charges again and makes a powerful horizontal slash. The confused orc tries to hit back with its sword, but Kim quickly avoids the attack. He knows one thing for sure. No matter how strong it is, an orc is still just a beast, and he never feared it. Kim starts stabbing through muscle after muscle. Blood sprays in every direction. He smirks, having taken the orc apart piece by piece. Young Wu and Dong stand frozen, shocked by Kim's sheer power. The orc crashes to the ground, dead at his feet. The onlookers claim that he did it all by himself. His system states that he had defeated Ferrith, a demon of the lowest class. The system then activates cannibalism, so Liu starts to devour the orc. On the opposite side, players are frozen in stress. The system then explains further that Ferrith is being transformed into the ego and declares that Kim has failed to transform Ferrith into an ego. Kim remains silent as the system transfers the fragments of Ferrith will into Liu. After a brief pause, Dong tells the wounded to focus on recovery and orders the non-combat members to collect the advanced party's leftovers. He then pulls Kim aside for a private talk, making Kim worry that he might question him about the missing body, crystal, and items even if the strange monster makes it hard to pin the blame. Dawn gets straight to the point by asking if Kim would consider joining them in the Child Guild, and Kim realizes that he had expected this scouting move. Kim thanks Dong for the offer, but says he is not interested in joining any guild yet, explaining that his current guild is just a temporary arrangement for the subjugation raid. Dong nods and says it is a shame, but they still want to stay on good terms. He tells Kim to contact him anytime if he changes his mind. Outside the association building, Kim watches everyone working and finally asks Sunpul why he never joined Sukwoo's Kane Guild, making sure to sound polite. Sunpul says he stayed out of Kane Guild to avoid favoritism and prove himself. He then asks Kim why he never joined, mentioning that Sukwoo had tried to recruit him early on because of his skills. Surprised, Kim just says he does not know. Before he can explain, their friends interrupt and invite him to dinner. Kim apologizes, saying he needs to pack for his move. They say goodbye, and he promises to treat them later. Afterward, Kim remembers he needs to call Sung-hoon, but notices a message from Tae-sik instead. Tae-sik apologizes for the sudden notice and says the association president wants to have dinner with Kim. Caught off guard, Kim wonders if he is ready. As they reach, Kim does not understand why the president wants to meet him. He asks Tae-sik if this is even his place. As they reach the 10th floor, Tae-sik explains that the president wanted to cook dinner for Kim himself as a hobby. Kim still wonders why they chose Tae-sik's place for it. When they enter, Tae-sik says they are here, and the president acts like he already knew. Tae-sik casually tells Kim to stop quoting movies, and the president just says he will do as he pleases. Tae-sik then asks what they have for dinner while Kim silently wonders what is going on. He starts to suspect that the president and Tae-sik must be pretty close. The president then looks at Kim and says that he must be the player. He introduces himself as Tae-gu, the president of the Korean Players Association, while Kim casually introduces himself. Kim suddenly feels intense pressure from Tae-gu and realizes that not everyone can become the head of the superhumans. Tae-sik steps in, telling them to take it easy since it is not right to treat someone they just met like that. When Tae-sik calls Tae-ju dad, Kim is stunned. At the dinner table, Tae-sik mentions that Tae-sik has told him a lot about Kim and how much he has helped him through his position as director. Kim, surprised, watches as Tae-sik reminds his father that they should let the kid eat first. Tae-gu insists he is only saying what he should, then asks if Kim would like to work with the association. Kim says he is not interested in joining any organization, but Tae-gu clarifies that he is offering a mercenary role instead. Thinking it over, Kim realizes the president only wants to give him a proper status so he can get support when needed and receive his fair share. Kim figures that even a part-time affiliation could bring perks. He then recalls Sewell's words about the Kane Guild and remembers how Sukwoo has risen from level 1 to lead one of Korea's top guilds, leaving Kim in his debt. Kim feels he does not want to be burdened forever and longs to stand as an equal to Sukwoo. He concludes by saying he will see Sukwoo again soon in the tower. The scene shifts to a vast ground where a warrior and mage battle a terrifying monster. The warrior confidently expects the creature to attack from one direction, but it strikes from another. The warrior reacts with a verse, while the mage wonders if they should leave as night falls. The warrior suggests eliminating 2 more foes before leaving and comments on the unexpected chill. The mage explains it's due to the sunset despite the normally warm 26th floor. As they move on, they reach the bottom of a hill. The mage is shocked to see not just a few, but all the giant monsters frozen along with the entire area. The scene shifts to a man calling his guildmaster to report that what they are looking for is not there. The man, revealed to be Sukwoo, simply gets up and says they will keep searching. Players Weekly announces that Angelia Guild is set to clear the 80th floor of the legendary tower. Guildmaster Lee Soon-ho, who competes for the global top rank, and Shin Yu-bin, a rising star since March, stand beside him to showcase South Korea's strength. To celebrate the achievement, the show starts a high-ranking special featuring Asura, a living legend whose nationality, age, and gender are all unknown. Asura rules as the strongest player alive until Lee Sun-ho rises and fans still search for the secrets behind this mysterious champion. Kim stares at Tae-sik in disbelief and asks if Asura is really the Korean Players Association president and his father. Tae-sik nods and Kim gasps, saying he must have been born with a gold spoon. Tae-sik warns him to keep it secret and hands him a ring. Kim insists it must be a mistake, but Tae-sik explains that every mercenary receives this ID. He says the card grants authority equal to a director's and that Sung-hoon will fill him in on the rest. From today, Kim will work as his secretary, enjoy high-ranker perks for tower strategies, and earn rewards for completing missions. He can also refuse any mission if he wants. Kim thinks it sounds freaking awesome. The scene shifts to New York at the Iron Guild headquarters. Iron asks Rogers why he requested a meeting. Rogers bows and begs to be sent to Korea, vowing to devote everything to revenge. Iron agrees, promising to open a Korean branch and appoint Rogers as head manager. He hands him the Holy Sword 9 and urges him to pursue vengeance. Rogers drops to his knees in excitement, thanking his masters. Iron, meanwhile, swears to carve his path to revenge and tear down the Demon King, though he feels a creak in his knee. The scene shifts to Elstat's, now labeling her the Lord of Holy Swords. Kim notes that Lu has become insanely strong after absorbing Kalyon, but wonders where more power can be found. He asks Elle for ideas, but she apologizes, saying her memories are still incomplete. Kim turns to Lu, who admits he still cannot use the fragment from Chan Kyung's ego. Kim adds that although Lu absorbed a piece of ferret, he feels little change. Sung-hoon compliments Kim's haircut, and Lu suddenly mentions that Sung-hoon might be able to hear their conversation. Kim dismisses it as impossible, then asks Lu about the fragments, but Lu has no clue. Kim turns to Sung-hoon and asks where they are headed. Sung-hoon explains they are going to a unique gate in Yosu where the readings keep shifting between Class F and C. It is Kim's first mission as a mercenary, and though he feels a little nervous, Sung-hoon reassures him that their goal is just to gather information and promises to go in with him. Suddenly, Kim remembers he forgot to buy braised potatoes. Sung-hoon asks if Kim knows that mercenaries get code names. Kim jokes if they are names like Demon King or Asura. Laughing, Sung-hoon explains that Kim's code name was decided that morning. When Kim asks why he was not told, Sung-hoon reveals it is Morning Star. Kim wonders if his roommates would like it, then asks why Sung-hoon is laughing. They arrive at a shimmering gate where Young In-chul, head manager of the Yosu branch, greets Kim as Morning Star. Kim asks them to use his real name instead. Sung-hoon laughs and annoyed Kim yells at him. Sung-hoon and In-chul discuss the gate, noting it appeared 4 days ago and was immediately classified as a unique gate, so no one has entered yet. Sung-hoon says their first task is to scout it just as planned. In-chul adds that they can assemble a Class B subjugation team if needed and mentions that all supplies are stored in the management office. As Kim moves closer to the gate, the others warn him it's too dangerous to get that close. Kim asks Lu and Elle if they are sure about going in and both nod without hesitation. When he taps the gate, it suddenly turns red. Someone shouts that it's a gate breaker and tells them to contact headquarters and call for backup from nearby guilds. Out of the black mist, a notification pops up for Kim asking him to execute the link. But before he can tap it, all his egos speak at once, warning him that this gate is an ego itself. While the guards at the gate contact headquarters, they learn it will take at least 15 minutes for any high-ranked players to arrive at the red gate. The system keeps asking Kim if he wants to execute the link. That's when he realizes the gate is an ego. He had his suspicions back when he met Chan Kung. Sang-hoon steps in and pushes Kim back, saying it's too dangerous for him. Their tense stance makes the other guards start whispering and wondering what's happening. Then suddenly, the red gate changes back to blue. At the office, Sung-hoon looks at Kim and says he can't believe what he's seeing. He jokes that Kim might start causing gate breaks next. He wonders what will happen next. Maybe monsters from other places. Kim scratches his head. He didn't expect things to go this way either. He remembers how the gate changed back to blue and is still unsure if it was actually a gate break. He mentions that he has a general idea of what it could have been. This is new for him too. He can't explain it in detail, but he feels it is connected to his special ability. Sung-hoon wants to argue but stops himself. He thinks it would be rude to push for more information. Instead, he gives Kim a paper mask with painted cheeks that he made himself. The place is crowded with players and there are signs of a possible break. Sang-hoon looks out the window and warns that reporters will arrive soon. He reminds Kim to stay composed in front of everyone. Kim likes the mask, but is not a fan of the blush on the cheeks. After a 3-hour meeting, the group decides that Kim will go through the gate alone. Some members disagree, but the association chooses to support him. Sang-hoon asks if Kim can truly handle it by himself. Kim explains that he has special skills and asks Sang-hoon to wait outside just in case. A system window appears asking if Kim wants to connect. He agrees and then his figure disappears into the gate's rotation. Inside the place feels gloomy like a dark forest. Kim walks on the cold autumn ground. Sang-hoon speaks through the earpiece and checks if Kim is ready. Kim takes off his mask and says it doesn't matter. He just needs to name the gate with Lu and Elle nearby. Lu jokes that Kim is making them sound cheap. Kim admits he isn't sure what to do, but thinks he just has to clear the gate. Lu suggests that the best way is to blow everything up. Kim shivers from the cold and says the place feels wrong. He wants to finish it quickly for his own sanity. Elle senses dark magic, but Liu says he actually likes the vibe. Kim keeps walking and looking around until the ground suddenly shakes. From a distance, skeletons and rusty armor start to crawl out. A massive army charges toward him. Kim clenches his fists ready to fight. Among them, a headless horseman appears galloping fast. Kim looks at the figure and asks if it's Dullahan. The rider holds a head in one hand. Kim has never seen an intermediate boss like this and wonders if it is fair to face one so early. He gets into a fighting stance. His egos activate swiftness and he shoots forward leaving colorful streaks behind. He charges through the horde, breaking skulls and shattering armor with every strike. In moments like this, Kim usually goes straight for the headless horseman. He calls it a tradition to take out the leader first. Lu reminds him that Dullahan already has no head. The horseman drags his axe along the ground and blocks Kim's attack. Later, Kim stands on a long road with a cemetery on both sides. Lu scans the area and says something feels off because there aren't enough skeletons for a place like this. Even the mid-boss Dullahan seemed too weak for the mana coming from the gate. Kim nods in agreement. He thinks the guy is much weaker than what others say. As he looks ahead, he wonders what kind of boss is waiting at the end of the road. Below him is a large stone coffin, and he thinks this is the moment the boss will appear. The lid shifts and green smoke flows out. Lu warns Kim to be careful. The lid hits the ground, and Lu points out that there must be a reason why Don is soaked. Kim protects Lu, who is now covered in red energy. A withered handful of rings and a skull face rises from the smoke and stares at Kim. Lu says that all the power in the gate is focused on the last boss. Kim believes that the boss appearing here or after the 60th floor is the king of the undead lich. The lich asks Kim if he wants to be his master. Kim looks at him in fear. The lich floats over the coffin and repeats the question. Kim wonders why the gatekeeper's voice sounds like the system's voice. Kim nervously shouts that he came to become the master of the gate and asks if the lich is the gate itself. The lich groans in a surprisingly human voice and says he rules this place. Kim is shocked by how human he sounds. The lich's undead hand starts to glow green. Kim prepares to attack without hesitation. Just then, a weapon appears in Lich's hand. He tells Kim to prove he is worthy of being the master. The gem on his staff glows as dark energy gathers around him. Kim is in the air when a fireball shoots straight at him. He grits his teeth because he knows he can't dodge it. The whole cemetery lights up as a huge explosion hits the ground. Kim coughs as the smoke clears. Lu, who is stuck in the ground next to him, warns that the lich will attack again. Kim looks up and sees several glowing arrows flying toward him. The lich mocks him and says that if this is all Kim can do, he should give up because the real fight has not even started. The arrows hit the ground, but Kim grabs his sword and charges forward at full speed. He activates swiftness and dodges another round of arrows. The lich keeps smiling as he fires non-stop, and Kim realizes that letting his guard down even once could get him killed. He shouts at Lu and says he is counting on him. Lu sighs and asks what he is supposed to do. Kim tells him not to worry because he used a smoke projectile last time. Lu gets annoyed as he realizes what Kim is about to do. Kim then throws it forward with all his strength. Lu sticks it into the stone. Kim smiles and apologizes as he steps on Lu to gain speed, creating powerful explosions behind him. Kim charges at the lich and swings the red thread. Their weapons clash with a loud noise. The lich laughs dryly and says it is funny that Kim thinks he can be his master at that level. Kim strikes the lich staff, creating sparks and hitting the lich. A dark sphere starts to form near the staff, so Kim quickly backs away to stay safe. The lich coughs, but the wound on his body begins to heal by itself. The lich notices Elle and mutters that the weapon is annoying, then he quickly decides to end the fight. Kim sees a swarm of glowing arrows coming at him as they rain down from above. Lu says they can't avoid it, but Elle jumps in and tells Kim to run with her. She is already ready to go. As the arrows fall, Kim joins her, and they slice through the arrows together. Lu complains asking why Kim isn't using him. Kim replies that Lu's skills aren't a good fit for this, and those cheap demonic daggers are easy for Elle to handle. The lich's green glow gets stronger. Kim realizes the enemy is becoming more powerful and questions how long he can hold on. Arrows keep falling without stopping. Kim pushes through and quickly asks if Lu can handle it. Lu replies that confidence comes easily. With red lightning behind him, Kim charges forward and deflects the arrows using Lu. The blade glows dark as it absorbs energy from a magical weapon. Then something odd occurs as Lu starts to awaken with the will of the weapon's old master. Kim asks what is happening. The system replies that awakening requires a sacrifice. The stone in Lu glows and a red sphere explodes over the cemetery. The sky clears and all the arrows disappear. The lich looks shocked and asks how Kim is doing this. He acknowledges that Kim might be serious about becoming his master, but still says he is not impressed. Then he raises his arms and releases thick green smoke as the dead start to rise from their graves. The lich laughs and fuses the corpses into one huge twisted mass below him. Kim sees the nightmare and says he has questions, but no time to ask. Lu agrees. The lich now stands on top of a giant creature made of flesh. Kim looks at it and calls it a flesh golem. The giant glows with green energy and slams its hand into the ground, filling the air with thick smoke. Kim decides that if the enemy is too strong, he has to strike with even greater power. A blue flash cuts through the smoke. Kim orders at full speed. The lich watches as a blue streak races up the golem's arm. In a few moments, Kim is right in front of him. Kim swings both swords with a grin and asks if he is worthy of the gate. The lich's eyes lose their fire. He accepts Kim as his master. The system confirms that the gate is now linked to Kim and asks him to choose a name. A shockwave spreads from the cemetery, shaking the land for miles. The lich's head explodes and smoke pours out. Dark clots reach for Kim as he stands still, unsure what to call this moment. He stares at his glowing sword and asks what happened to Lu. Energy burst from the stone in the guard shining from the eye at its center. Lu laughs and says Kim was a fool to think he'd let a sword steal the spotlight. Kim feels anxious and asks what is happening to Lu. The stone keeps sparking until Lu suddenly starts laughing. But just as quickly, the sparks stop. Kim asks if Lu is being rude, and Lu responds by asking what is wrong with Kim. Elle jumps in and says Lu looks confused, but Lu interrupts her and says he has a headache and needs to rest. Kim says he has many questions, but will wait to ask them. Lu thanks him for understanding. The system prompts Kim to name the gate. He thinks for a moment and remembers that Brunhard is dead, so he names it Brunhard. In the city, the system issues a warning about a gate rupture, causing people to panic and evacuate. One player notes that it has been a long time since something like this happened and asks about the gate's rank. The other player replies that it just jumped from F to C, meaning it's a special one. Taisik arrives and asks about backup. Sung-hoon tells him that all nearby guilds, including the Child Guild, are present. Taisik wants to know if the evacuation is complete. Sung-hoon says it's going well and should finish in 30 minutes, but Taisik insists it should be done in 10. Sung-hoon notes the main issue, stubborn journalists who refuse to leave. They hide behind freedom of speech, and some are players, which complicates the situation. Taisik coldly smirks and says to let them stay if they want to die. He notices the crowd and thinks that breaking the gate isn't the main problem since there are many strong players here, including himself. What concerns him is that if the gate breaks, it means something has happened to Kim. Later, everyone freezes as the gate begins to crack and red energy spreads around it. Commands are shouted as everyone prepares for battle. Taisik pulls out a weapon and apologizes to Kim. He blames himself for being too weak to save Kim. In a moment of anger, he goes into a rage and jumps in to seek revenge for Kim. Just as he shouts Kim's name, Kim steps out of a portal and asks if Taisik is calling him. The portal disappears and Taisik, still in the air, falls to the ground rolling and cursing Kim the whole way down. While Taisik lies there, Kim awkwardly scratches his face and says he is sorry because he didn't even realize what was happening. A bright flash suddenly hits Kim's face as a reporter arrives shouting for more pictures. The reporter asks him to turn his shiny face to the camera, wanting the world to see who cleared the gates just before they burst open. Kim covers his face from the flashes. The reporters ask him for an interview about his rings and mask. Later, he sits with a guild president. After hearing everything, the president finally understands why Kim became so strong so quickly. Sung-hoon asks Taisik if he is sure about discussing this topic here because it involves a special ability. Taisik replies that he trusts Sung-hoon or he wouldn't have made him Kim's secretary. Taisik gets straight to the point and asks if Kim is connected to the gate. Kim is unsure since this is his first experience with it. He explains that the gate appears to be stabilizing and is not responding at the moment. He wonders if something broke when it closed. Taisik then inquires about Kim's ego, Lu. Kim responds that it is still quiet, but he can still use its powers, so it should not be anything serious. The guild president is surprised that Kim owns a gate. He says if this news gets out, people will go wild. For now, the association will keep it quiet so Kim doesn't need to worry about reporters. Kim's phone rings. Thinking it's Yejong, he answers saying he's in a meeting. But a stranger replies saying he saw Kim on TV and recognized him by his ring and necklace. He laughs and mocks Kim for trying to hide behind a mask. The others receive calls too. The stranger keeps teasing that he might reveal Kim's identity. Kim looks back, and Taisik tells him they are finished. A blog has already posted about a hero stopping the disaster, suggesting that a new high ranker has emerged. The news even reaches Sejong. When Bale asks why she looks happy, she says she is simply proud of Kim. The players' paparazzi squad is all about the tower, the gates, and what the active players are up to. Taisik admits that it's on him for not being able to deal with things since a reporter is stirring up trouble. He mentions he used to be a well-known ranker named Hyungshul and suggests that people should steer clear of him. Kim drops by Wang's shop because he feels lost without Liu and thinks Liu would probably give him a hard time buying egos if he was awakened. Elle chimes in, saying she'll never throw out those nasty words, to which he replies, she doesn't have to. The shopkeeper catches Kim muttering and tells him he's getting pretty famous now. He jokingly asks if Kim wants to get paid to promote his stuff. He mentions that he is here to avoid the spotlight, and when the shopkeeper asks if he wants a mask, he says it is not really his style. Instead, he's worried about rings since he can't leave home without them. The shopkeeper suggests checking out some gloves, but warns that the selection is pretty limited. He reflects on how it took him a bunch of tries to connect with Brunhard while linking up with homies, and Rain was a breeze. He wonders if his ego has gotten stronger, and Elle nods to confirm he has definitely grown, but he tells her she does not need to flatter him. He feels like picking something fancy catches his eye, but then he spots a glove that really grabs his attention and decides to go with it. The shopkeeper gives him props and he activates the link by calling him Oberon. Blue mana starts to swirl around and the system warns him about the link, which leaves him amazed but also a bit awkward. The system pulls up Oberon's status and he starts to wonder if he can use these gloves to call Lu and El. He calls them and when they activate their mana, the shopkeeper looks shocked. He asks if he can make Lu and El disappear into ring form, so he uses his accessorize skill and the glove spark to make it happen. Curious about the cost, he asks the shopkeeper, who says he does not need to pay. Instead, he just has to promise to reach out if help is ever needed. The next day in the lobby of the association, our boy is curious about the reporters. The secretary mentions they are there to find out about the masked ranker who's been making waves. Kim notes he won't be able to climb the tower and should check out the gates instead. But the secretary tells him they are up on the higher floors because they think he's a ranker even though he's really chilling on a lower floor. On the first floor of the tower, he takes down some monsters and starts thinking about the shopkeeper's promise. He thinks Wong is super picky about evaluating equipment, so he figures it's not going to be an easy favor to get. Suddenly, he hears someone ask if he is their master, and he turns to Elle to see if she caught that too. When he asks, the ego speaks up and tells him to just call out his name. He checks with Elle again, and she suggests it might be Lu, but he quickly brushes that off and says it definitely is not his voice. Then it hits him as he wonders if it could be Brunhard. He looks at a globe that seems familiar. He starts piecing things together and remembers getting naked and shouting that this isn't happening again. He yells at the globe while in the woods and the system prompts him to figure out Brunhard's form, which leaves him a bit confused. Elle notices something's off and asks what's wrong, but he just says it's nothing. The system prompts him to choose Brunhard's form and mentions it is different from Lu's, so he asks Elle about it. Elle suggests placing a hand on the marble to pick the form, so he goes ahead and touches it while thinking about what he wants. He realizes that even though Brunhard was with him for a short while, he had his backup until the end. So he wishes he could be like before. Then the ego reflects some mana, and he is taken aback as he wonders if he is turning Brunhard into some sort of half-human, half-machine. Brunhard is pumped to serve him again and asks if he's the real deal. The system chimes in, and he wonders if he's the same Brunhard from before. He's all excited when he gets a yes. Kim points out that it feels different this time since the original was more like a knight. He commands to combine things instead of just adding them, saying that the qualities of the ego show off what he really wants. The system pulls up the status window, and he is stoked to check out his skills, eager to put the activated open skill to the test. The gate swings open, and he starts to figure out how to handle the different egos. He gives the open and closed skills a shot, but he can't get through. The monsters aren't listening to him at all. Out of nowhere, a knight charges at him, and he takes him down, thinking it is pretty handy since he can open the gate anytime he wants. By shutting it, he hopes to get a grip on this ability to boost his power. He also experiments with the absorption and domination skills because he's trying to learn more about Brunhard's growth from the descriptions. Brunhard thinks about using his skills on the gate, but realizes there are some limits. So he puts that on hold for now and focuses on the monster first. The beast called the Giant Smilodon guards the 28th floor. As the monster grins at him, he knows it's time to get back into the fight. When the huge paw swipes at him, he activates his force skill and blocks it with his swords while joking that this is just a warm-up. He counters with a slice to its paw, causing the monster to let out a painful roar. The giant Smilodon goes all out, but he dodges its attack and lands a series of strikes. However, when the monster strikes back, he uses his reflect skill, and with a massive blast, he comes out on top in the battle. He says taking down huge monsters has become easy for him, but this time his reflection skill deserves some credit too. Brunhard excitedly asks if he did a good job, and Kim agrees, letting Lu absorb the Smilodon's blood. But is not too thrilled about just getting a green crystal. Hoping to make some money, he decides to sell the corpse. Remembering his promise, he opens the gate and tosses the crystal inside. The system notifies him that the monsters inside the gate have gotten stronger as he's noticed the crystals growing. He closes it and mentions that he's gotten used to his force and swiftness skills. Meanwhile, Elle is leveling up, and although Lu is still unconscious, he is stable. He considers heading straight to the 30th floor, but decides to check out the 29th first. Meanwhile, the players from Kane Guild shout and warn other guilds not to mess with them, but the others just mock them, claiming they are stronger and can do whatever they want. One guy smirks and challenges them to test his strength. Kim hears weapons clashing and asks if there's a battle going on. Brunhard suggests checking it out, but Kim doesn't want to get involved. The guy attacks a Kane Guild member who angrily asks how someone like him dares to strike. He just scoffs, saying he's sick of their whining and tells them to bring their master since they are just captives. He's clearly trying to bait Sakwu. But before he can do more damage, Kim takes him down in a flash and pins him to the ground, demanding him to say that again. Kim's heart starts racing as he takes down one of the guys from the Kang Guild, and that guy realizes he's got some crazy demonic skills. He tries to calm things down, but the rest of the crew notices what's happening and asks why the Smurf Guild is butting in. One of the Smurf Guild members yells for everyone to attack, thinking he's an easy target since he's alone. Meanwhile, Kim is just trying to chill, but when they come at him, he swings his swords fiercely and taps into a ton of mana. It hits him hard that he's just killed someone for the first time without even thinking twice about it. The way the blade cuts through feels way too real, and his heart won't stop pounding. He shows his darker side by taking out a bunch of players, and L tries to calm him down by calling him. He does not really pay attention, but L keeps trying to reach him, and suddenly he starts to realize what is going on. Bong introduces him as a mid-level guy from the Kang Guild and gives him some props, saying he's heard a lot about him. Kim asks if their guild master is Sukwoo, and he nods to confirm that his master wants him to join their guild. Bong is surprised that Sukwoo seems different now. He used to be soft-hearted and worried, but now he swings his sword without hesitation and seems a lot stronger. Bong asks about the fight they were chasing Sukwoo for, and he says he's not the kind of guy to make enemies. Kim asks if they've gotten any info yet, and Sukwoo mentions they'll find out eventually. Even the association thought about torturing them, but that idea makes him feel uncomfortable. Leaving the guild really got him thinking. He mentioned that when he joined the subjugation mission, he couldn't keep himself in check, which might have been a result of the torture he experienced. He's usually sensitive to these kinds of things, but back then, he just felt nothing. He wonders if it's because the people involved were criminals. He is struggling to understand why he could not stop himself from killing, but deep down, he knows the real issue is that he actually enjoyed it. He apologizes to his ego, saying he doesn't want to stress anyone out. He mentions that he knows who to ask about it and thinks about the Demon King since she's done something to him. Bongu spots him and apologizes for the situation. He asks if he's talked to them, and the guy says they are just following their boss's orders. He points out that they are still kids since they aren't very skilled, and the other guy responds that it's because they're stronger. He wants him to meet with the guild master, but they have a lot to take care of, so they need to head out. Kim senses something and asks if anyone else heard it. They notice the footsteps of the Smurf Guild approaching and are shocked by their overwhelming numbers. He wonders if the whole guild is here and if they are always this paranoid, but he is not worried at all. He tells his companion to contact their guild, but he replies that he has already reported it. Kim suggests sending another message since he can handle them. He activates his swiftness skill and feels super excited for the fight. He zips around the players and they cannot keep up, which makes them angry as they yell about how fast he is. The egos show up and Bongu tells everyone to back him up since he's on his own. Kim thinks he won't feel anything while taking him down like a beast and laughs since he's ready to pull his trick. Suddenly is a huge explosion and everyone looks shocked, but he skillfully dodges it and stays put. He grins and says he didn't see that coming since he got the item by taking out its former owner. Bongu chimes in that this guy is Choi Min-suk, the leader of Smurf Guild, who suggests they join forces because their vibes totally match. While the offer hangs in the air, the story shifts to the dark side of the tower where evil players roam and kill without hesitation. They are known as red players. It is nearly impossible to track them legally. Associations can only guard the entrances of the tower, blocking escape routes. In the midst of this chaos is Choi Min-suk, who used to lead the Smurf Guild. Now he is a wanted criminal. Our boy cannot understand why someone like Min-suk would risk everything just for the thrill of murder. Min-suk casually asks if Kim wants to take a job since he seems to fit in with them. Kim tells Min-suk to shut up and stop comparing him to trash. But before the tension can even cool down, one of the Smurf Guild members pipes up, demanding to know how Kim has the guts to talk like that. In an instant, flames engulf the guy. Kim is frozen in shock while Min-suk says that's what he gets for running his mouth. The others start murmuring, saying that this guy is the deputy who's now on the ground. Min-suk grumbles that some folks have serious issues. While the others drag the body away, he brings up the deputy seat being open again and offers it to Kim. Kim stays in a fighting stance and questions why they are targeting the Kane Guild. Min-suk looks taken aback, surprised that Kim bothered to ask instead of just jumping in, but he explains that they are fed up with the tower and the only way out is to take out the leader. Before he can go on, Bongu chimes in, asking if they are thinking about taking hostages too. Min-suk just grins, but Kim is all worked up demanding answers. He can't shake off thoughts of Sukwoo, wondering if the second skill gave their secret away. Min-suk is taken aback by how quickly Kim figured it out, but Kim doesn't give him a moment to breathe. He steps closer, pushing for the answer again. With a fiery intensity, Min-suk replies telling him it's all about his eyes. He pulls out a dagger, flames flickering along the blade, and slashes just a hair's breadth from Kim's neck. Kim dodges, but another weapon catches his arm. It quickly turns into a fierce back and forth of strikes and blocks. They both move like lightning, with Min-suk teasing that this fight will decide who's in charge. The field is on fire. The Smurf Guild is huddled together for protection. Kim slides across the ground and locks eyes with Minsuk. Something feels off. His gut tells him Minsuk isn't just tough. He moves like a trained assassin. Minsuk charges at him again. Kim manages to block the hits, but each one feels heavier. The boost he got from force keeps him on his feet, but he can't accelerate like he used to. Suddenly, L yells for him to watch out, but Minsuk lands a solid kick before he realizes. Kim rolls on the burning ground to break his fall. He slows himself down by driving his sword into the dirt. His opponent might be quicker, but L lets him know that Minsuk's speed hasn't actually changed. Minsuk grins and breaks down the trick. The longer the fight goes on, the more damage builds up. Eventually, it becomes pretty clear who's going to lose. Kim suddenly gets a bright idea and charges in with some serious speed. Minsuk looks shocked for the first time as he realizes Kim had been holding back, so Minsuk decides to go all out. Flames shoot up into the sky like a massive pillar before racing toward Kim. It's way too hot, but he pushes through. Minsuk swings his knife, but Kim stands his ground. He remembers the damage build-up trick and activates reflection. The system lets him know that Brunhard will now reflect the damage just like he asked. Minsuk glows sickly green as the pain hits him hard, his teeth grinding together while the guild watches in horror. Something flies out of the firestorm and crashes to the ground. It turns out to be Minsuk, barely alive, and his eyes slowly darken as the last of the flames fade away. Kim walks out of the smoke, his body burned and covered in soot. He holds Lu tightly, his eyes locking onto Minsuk with pure hate. He calls him a second-rate villain before thrusting Lu into him without hesitation. The system reacts and announces that cannibalism has been activated and Minsuk has officially become ego. Kim is staring in disbelief as he realizes the players can transform too. His legs are shaking as the reality of the fight sinks in, but there's no time to back down. So he forces himself to stay strong. Showing any sign of weakness now could get him killed. All around him, he feels the cold stares of the Smurfs. Their leader and second in command are gone, but none of them seem upset about it. Instead, they look pretty pleased. One of them steps up with a grin, asking if the guy who took out their leader is now the new boss. Kim isn't falling for their trickery and shifts into a fighting stance, ready to face them down. An angry crowd stands before him, blood in their eyes, and Brunhard yells at him to run. But Kim's